Cool. So yeah, I'll probably just give it a few minutes. I don't know how many people are.
Well,
There's nobody watching right now.
just knows about Saturday morning. But I just right as you just hit live, I just got an email from a French dude who lives in Normandy, who I've been communicating with for a long time, and he's almost 100 years old. And
Oh,
I know, right? I just got an email. I sent him an email the other day saying, "Hey, listen, I'm going to be here." I hadn't heard from him for a while. He just responded now, saying, "Hello, I will agree to meet you when you show up. Thank you for this message. Best regards." He's French. He hardly speaks English,
yeah.
and
So do you have an interpreter, like somebody who can speak both English and
yeah,
French?
yeah.
Okay, cool.
Veronica is this, and Paul's wife Mag is also gonna try and
Okay, so
be with
you
me
do
over
have
there.
the ability to.
Oh yeah,
Yeah.
yeah.
Okay. Good.
And a good thing about like that area too is that it's very, from what I've heard, what I've looked into, it's very kind of Americanized. It's, I mean, not
Well, yeah. There's a lot of
not in,
tourism.
right. It's
Yeah.
a big tourist kind of area, so a lot of people do speak English, but it's still, it's like it is it is a foreign country. So
Yeah, and it's like you don't know French, and you don't expect them to know English because it's like they're French.
you're
Like,
right, yeah. I
like I
shouldn't.
don't expect anybody from any other country to know English. Like,
Right.
it's just if you do, cool.
Hmm.
But if not, we'll figure something out. But like, no, it's cool that you're going there, and it's not that far off, which is cool. But like that, the video that you just posted,
Yes.
um, that's kind of why we're on here. And I was watching it, and I mean, I always learn something from your shit because you're such a freaking. I don't want to use the A word.
But we know
Um,
what you mean when you say the A word.
yeah, the tism. Like, but like about Omaha Beach in specific, it's like,
Right.
well, you need people like you to be able to go in the deep dive of something that's that niche, also that famous, right?
Yes.
Because here's the thing: is that was one beach, one day for one day of the fucking war that lasted 5 years,
Of course. Yeah.
6 years. Well, actually, if you want to go to the technical thing, I believe it started in 1936, but with the Japanese invading. But so
Yes.
that's one. It's a very. I don't know. So why do you think? Honestly, I never actually asked you this. Why do you think that it's so like popular?
The you talking about Omaha Beach in particular?
Well, just Overlord in general.
The Overlord in general. Well, I think it's considered the big, like, the big start of the end, the beginning of the end, I guess you would say, when it comes to World War II. It's like, okay, we're now finally going to just, you know, push this thing into full gear and finally end this war, even though that's not how really it happened. It still went on for,
Right.
like another year, but it's kind of seen as that, like, oh, the big invasion. We're not finally fighting in, Italy and Africa and stuff like that. We're actually going to, Europe, where all this shit kind of originates from. And I think that has something to do with it. I think that really, I do think that cinema has a large part in it too, just in terms of the history. And it all starts with stuff like The Longest Day. I mean, it's this huge movie
But
that,
no. So what I'm asking is like, so Dragoon took place a few months or a few, was it weeks or months later?
it was in August.
Yeah. So it's a couple months later. That was a large scale amphibious invasion as well.
Right.
That got nothing. So I'm wondering, like, I actually don't know. I've tried to like research this, like why Normandy itself was like that was Overlord itself was just like this the world changing. It was like a,
Yeah.
you know what I mean?
That's what it's, seen as. And I think the reason why something like Dragoon doesn't get a lot of coverage is because, one, it wasn't nearly as on the same scale. I mean, it was a big ass invasion, but it wasn't
Mm-hmm.
on the same scale in terms of all of these things involved, with, including the British and the Canadians and such. And it also was like, okay, well, the big one in Normandy has already happened, so this is just it's like the thing that's already happened. They're not going to try and, it's not going to get the same hype as the thing that's already happened, if that
Well, and
makes
it's
sense.
weird too because like so, my grandfather and his brother, my great
Right.
uncle, landed on Dragoon. Right.
Yeah.
My grandfather was in the Fifth Army, and my great uncle was in the Third ID.
Yeah, so Mediterranean, all that stuff.
Yes. So they went through Africa, Sicily, Italy, and then subsequently to South France.
Mm.
My great uncle, who was in the third ID, met a lot of resistance during Dragoon. And they were only
Yeah,
about 30 miles apart on the beach. Because it was fucking huge if you think about it. My uncle or my great uncle met a lot of resistance and just slogged through that shit. My grandfather just basically landed there and they drove their trucks in and nothing happened.
right. All the
And
big shit had already happened.
right. Well, no. It was the same day though. It was the same time and everything like
Right.
that. And it was like, huh. So I wonder why people aren't more interested in like Dragoon or like Avalanche, you know?
Yeah.
It's like freaking a lot of shit went down in those invasions.
It does. It's just that I think something with, like Normandy again, it's like all of these big, it's this big thing, all these key things happening together with, British, American, Canadians and Free French and,
Oh, the
Polish and stuff.
coalition aspect you're saying?
Yeah, that sort of thing. And then also just like the the notoriety that all this stuff gets about like, Omaha Beach with the insane losses and such. And it wasn't just like they landed and that was it. It was like they landed and they had to put up with a bunch of shit. So I think that's part of it. And also the airborne drops and all that stuff that's gotten a lot of fame uh through various, reasons, like again with the longest day,
Yeah, but
Band of
there was
Brothers
fucking
and
airborne
such.
drops in Africa, Sicily, and Italy.
Oh, I know. It's just, it for some reason Normandy is the thing that like just that's like the staple for all this stuff. It's become kind of like the big,
And that's what I'm
thing.
asking. Is like I don't know why. Like
I don't know
there's
why either.
nothing. Yeah, it's just a
It's just
weird thing of like.
it's kind of a weird phenomenon, but yeah, it is like that.
Also, Virginia reenactor. No, my great uncle is not Audie Murphy. He was in the same division as him,
Right.
but no, his name was Al Willette. And
Was that is that the guy you sent me the photo of the other day?
no, that was my grandfather.
Okay.
But no, so my great uncle Al, I met him once when I was younger. He was a super nice guy, but he died with a piece of shell frag in his hip because they're like, if we take it out, it's gonna like you're gonna bleed out.
That's one of those situations. Yeah.
Yeah. So he went through the entire. He got 2 silver stars, a bronze star, 2 purple hearts, a bunch of other stuff. The guy was a badass, but he was
Right.
super nice, and everything like that. So I got to meet him once. I never got to meet my grandfather. But I told you why, and I don't want to say that on stream. But like, no, my great uncle was not Audie Murphy. So
If that were the case, that would be really interesting, given the fact that you've done work on stuff based on him.
yes, based on him. Yes, correct.
Yeah.
But like, but no, he was in this. I mean, again, the same division. So he kind of went the same path. He went through the Colmar pocket. He went through
Right.
to the end. And he said he told me when I was like, I think I was like maybe around the age of 10, maybe a little bit older. Can't remember exactly. He told me, he says, because I told him I was into like World War II and like military history and stuff like that. And he said, the best time I ever had when I was overseas was in the hospital. He says, I got 3 meals a day. I had pretty nurses taking care of me, and it was clean. I didn't have to sleep in a mud hole because he was an infantryman, right?
That
So
sounds like paradise compared to
right.
frontline.
Well, he got wounded twice. The first time, I don't remember what it was, but anyway, so it doesn't matter. But like, they'll see he was an infantryman, and then my grandfather drove caissons or like trucks with artillery shells to the artillery. I don't know what unit he was in. I'm trying to research that with Myra and everything like that. But like, he was artillery, but he was the one who drove the ammunition trucks. So he was like right there. I know he was at Monte Cassino because that was something he told my grandmother about that really bothered him. And then when he got back, like he would, if they were driving, wherever, and he saw a plane, he would stop the vehicle immediately and run out and run into the ditch and take cover.
Right.
So he had a little bit of post-traumatic stress going on.
Yeah.
And then he was pretty mean, kind of a mean person. But anyway, that all aside, so yeah, like Dragoon, an Avalanche, and what the hell was the one in Sicily where they dropped the 82nd in there?
Husky.
Husky, yes,
Yeah.
Husky. Those were huge operations.
Yeah, they just it's one of those things where I think eventually someone's either going to come out with a big ass book or a big ass movie that's going to cover it, and then it will start to get more, attention. I think with
Right.
stuff like, if we're going to go back to, I do think that the mainstream media and stuff like that has a lot to do with it. And back then, if they had made a movie on the scale of The Longest Day that was about those events, they would probably be as big as they are, as something like Overlord is considered today. That's just what I think. I think it's just that it depends on what gets picked up at what certain point in terms of distributing it to the mass media.
Well, and also like World War II history, or World War II wisdom rather.
Yeah.
He did make a video recently on like why the army's like never mentioned in the South Pacific, even though there was more army.
Yeah, that was a
personnel,
really good video.
because of their PR. And we had talked about that in private
Mm-hmm.
about the Navy had better PR,
Yes.
and they were promoting the Marines back home, and the Army PR sucked.
Despite the fact that more Army was in the PTO.
Correct.
Yeah.
Yeah, there were like what frickin' 15 divisions or something
Divisions,
like that.
yeah. And which is I just got we finished doing our Hacksaw Ridge video for the Frosty One channel.
Mm-hmm.
And that is funny. When we posted that, a lot of people were saying this, like, well, Desmond Doss Marine this, Desmond Doss Marine that. We're all like, he wasn't a Marine, dude.
He was in the Army.
Yeah, it's the fucking 77th Infantry
Have
Division
you ever
of
seen
the
his
US
fucking
Army.
uniform and post-war when he got his Medal of Honor?
He's
not got a combat medic badge on. You get that in the Army. You don't get that in the fucking Marine Corps.
Right, but just because he was in the Pacific, people just naturally think he was a Marine. It's like, no,
well, and that's a thing too, is people, I think this is another trope too that people kind of feed into, is like, you see all these old boomers, right? When you see comments on YouTube or Facebook or whatever, they go, either their dad landed at Normandy, or he was in Patton's Third Army. Which one was it?
Whatever one they want to say. I mean,
well, that's the thing, is those two things are a trope.
Yep.
Yeah, and it's never Utah Beach. It's never Utah. I've met World War II veterans who landed at Utah Beach D+3.
Right.
So it's like they said, yeah, I wasn't there in the invasion, but I went through there, and they were in the 90th Infantry Division, the Tough Hombres.
Yep.
And so he never fired a shot through the whole war either, which is
that's
funny.
awesome.
Yeah, he carried an M1 carbine, but he never fired a shot. And I mean, he was like 90 when I met him, because he was older when he joined, right? He was like, I think he was like he would have been like probably in his early 30s when he joined. And because he was really good at radios, they gave him a radio and said, you're going to relay back to the station, like with the German codes come through on the radios, you're going to decrypt those, and you're going to send them back, the messages that are decrypted, while we're out in the field. And he said, okay. And so that was his job.
A lot more important things than shooting.
Well, no, that's the thing, is he didn't have time to shoot. Like, it's like he was sitting there going, oh shit, okay, so I gotta get my pad out, sitting there listening while they're engaged, and like, okay, well, they're saying this, they're saying that. Oh, they're going to be, here's where they are. And then, like, he had to relay that to the, the FDC, or wherever the hell he was going back to. So it was a unique job. And I love shit like that.
Of course.
And but again, he landed D+3. Okay.
Yeah.
He still did his job. He was still in combat. But everybody's dad landed on Omaha Beach.
Landed on Omaha Beach in the first wave.
Yep.
And stuff just like
how many Americans landed on Omaha Beach in the first wave?
How many in total?
In the first wave, just the Americans on Omaha Beach.
Yeah.
First wave.
A few, like I think 3 companies. I think that's 3 companies worth from the whatchamacallit.
So it'd be like 600, 700 guys.
Yeah, around there, because A company was the biggest one that did, and then B company of the 116. Then
29th. Yeah,
I forgot what the company was for the first infantry on the east, but it was not the large majority of troops actually did come more in like the second wave, if that makes sense.
Yeah, no, it does make sense. Yeah.
So like Yeah, the first wave that people like to talk about was completely wiped out, which when they say that, they're referring to Company A of the 116, not every single person that was
So we're
along the
talking
beach.
less than 1,000 people in the first
Yeah.
wave. Well,
About that, yeah.
I've seen way more than that claim that their dad was in the first wave. And
Yeah,
it's like, well, what unit was he in? He
right,
was a ranger. I'm like, oh, I've seen Saving Private Ryan as well.
right.
How many rangers landed in the first wave on Omaha?
Dude, only 2 companies worth. No. I mean, it was yeah, because it was company. I think it was only one company B. I think it was only like 70 guys or something like that, if I remember right.
Well, there's been a lot more claimed than that. We'll
It
just
was
put it out there.
right. When we're only talking about the second Rangers, on
Yes,
the
not the
western.
fifth.
Yeah, not the
Yep.
fifth that would have landed. And also the company A of the second, which came around the same time as the fifth Rangers. But anyway, yeah, not a shitload of people. It's spread out. The times are spread out. The people are spread out. When you do look at these things, there actually are large gaps in between a lot of things.
So how many Germans, in your estimation, were actually on the escarpment, like up, like actually firing down on these guys, like with artillery, small arms, anything like that?
Well, in terms of the entire beach,
Omaha, yes.
the
Yep.
entire okay, the
The
entire
entire
five
beach.
5 mile strip, just a little over 100. So,
I just wanted to point that out before we get into your video of like
right, yeah.
how I just don't understand how it's been blown out of proportion that fucking much.
People love drama. That's it.
Yeah, but like, I mean, the invasion sucked. A lot of people died. I understand that.
Right.
Like in a small amount of time. Both Germans, Americans, whoever else, the British, Canadians, the Free French, the Polish,
Right.
the Czechs, whoever was, the Austruppen who were with the Germans as well.
Yeah.
I get that. Not a good day, or a couple days rather.
Mm-hmm.
However, they make it in the movies look like it's so fucking like just this goddamn bloodbath of like, it's like they kind of took like Peleliu
Yeah.
or like the South Pacific landings and they applied it to Normandy.
Oh yeah. Yeah. I'm trying to think of the best way to describe it because going back to that German thing, I've looked at there are documents of estimations of how many German troops were on each resistance nest.
Yeah.
And
Yep.
I think the most was at WN62, and that was 42. I think that was the largest number of guys. There are some nests, honestly, like I think WN66 and 67. It's like when you look at it, there were only like 13 to 15 Germans on them.
Jesus
Like,
Christ.
yeah, I mean,
Yeah,
not a lot at all. And then, but the 352nd that were in the area were
Yeah.
providing, reinforcements and such. But it's also like it wasn't like the entire division was there. It was there were they
It was
only
just
had
a skeleton crew basically.
the 916th regiment of the 352nd was along that entire 5 miles. But again, it's not like there was a ton of people.
Well, that's the thing that like because I mean because of Saving Private Ryan and The Longest Day and Medal of Honor,
Definitely Medal of Honor.
fucking Frontline. It's
Yep.
like people think there was like tens of thousands of Germans and they were fighting this off, and it's like, dude, no, like they didn't know that they thought they were going to hit at Pas de Calais. That's obviously like the shortest route to get there, and they chose the longest route from England to France.
Yeah,
and so it's like, okay, I mean, also they were fighting several fronts, and they didn't have. I mean, we've talked about this before.
yeah.
I know. I'm just kind of like being a dead horse, but like, I mean, weren't a lot of the Germans like actually like I know there was a lot of Germans killed that day, but like were a lot of them captured? Like percentage wise?
A lot of them were captured. Yeah, a lot of them that were killed along. Just we're talking about Omaha Beach here.
Yeah.
A lot of them that were killed were mostly on the western side. A lot of the Germans on the eastern end of Omaha Beach survived. Some of the most famous ones are Franz Gockel,
Yep.
Heinrich Saverloh. Franz Gockel actually he wasn't captured. He was wounded and he retreated with his unit, and he was eventually in a hospital, and they put him back into service in southern Germany. That's a lot of people think that every German who was fighting along Omaha Beach was either killed or captured. Well, not the case for Franz Guckel. He actually went back into service, but a lot of them did retreat or were, taken prisoner and things like that. So, but a lot of them that were like the majority that were actually killed, wiped out, were like WN 71, 72, 73 on the western
the ones
end.
that took the direct hits.
Right. Yeah. Especially WN 72. But a lot of those guys were definitely killed. But no, a lot of them, also weren't killed. There were also a lot of them who survived. And you can see a ton of photos taken right after D-Day of, hordes of German prisoners that were in the area,
Yeah, it's. I mean, that's the thing that they never represent in series or videos either, or movies either. Is like, a lot of people just go, "Oh no, fuck this, I'm done. Like, I'm done. We're not doing this anymore. I'm done."
Yeah,
and it's like, okay, all right, fine. And I mean, that's what happens a lot, and then you got to deal with them. But it's I don't know. War's just so fucked up in general. I got to take a piss really quick, and then do you want to pull up your video on YouTube and then present it, and then we'll just go from there. You don't have to do the whole thing like verbatim. You can just do the parts that you want and skip through it.
Yeah.
Because there's a lot of like really niche shit in there.
There's a lot of niche shit. Yeah, and it's also like an hour and a half. So
right,
we'll pick apart it. Certain things. All right. Virginia reenactor, I saw you mentioned earlier. Do I know what regiment Desmond Doss was in? Yes, he was in the 307th Regiment of the 77th Division. Also, Virginia reenactor. I wouldn't say the machine guns were a mile away, but when Omaha Beach was at low tide, it was about 300 to 400 yards from the shore all the way to the escarpment. And no, the Germans did have their machine guns and such positioned along the escarpment, but they were not fire. The majority of them were not firing directly at the shore. They were enfilading fire on the side. So, when guys are getting shot, not like in Saving Private Ryan where they just have the MG-42 aimed right at the boat, they would have actually been coming from their flanks rather than just straight on. For the most part, there were some machine guns that were firing more head on, but the majority of them would have been enfilading fire. Yeah, crisscross. Way more effective, honestly, when you think about it. So yeah, the video that we are going to take a look at, I just released, and this had to go through a bunch of copyright shit to finally get approved to be shown on my channel, is a video of me reacting to the Omaha Beach scenes in The Longest Day, the 1962 movie. Most people, I think, here would probably know it. So it's just the Omaha Beach scenes in that movie because I'm the Omaha Beach nerd. But if I did the entire movie, it would be like, an 8-hour video. This is just the Omaha Beach scenes, and the video came out to be 1 hour, 15 minutes. But so it finally went live, and Mike was like, "Hey, listen, let's talk about this. This is awesome." So I'm like, "Sure, let's hop on."
Oh, cool. Trey showed up.
Oh, Trey's here?
Yeah.
Oh, shit.
Also, so while watching your video, you were saying Severlo, and you're like, yeah, I know I pronounce it wrong. It's just like a Z sound. Zeverlo.
Zeverlo, yeah.
Their Z's are pronounced like a TS sound, like t.
Right.
And then their S's, they kind of, depending on where it's used, is like a Z sound. It's weird.
Previous videos I've done, some German pricks have corrected.
Oh, Germans are the most pedantic fucks with their language.
Yeah.
It's like,
I mean, that's why I'm
me
German.
for at least trying,
Yeah.
Yeah. I mean,
like, sorry.
Yeah, it's whatever. You're not going to be able to fix that problem.
That's why I put it in there, because I didn't want to fill up the comments with it. Dude, you're fucking stupid. You're saying it
No,
wrong.
let them fill up the comments with their bullshit. It'll fucking boost the algorithm.
That's true.
Fucking pedantic Germans, like it's actually pronounced Schubert, not Schubert. Okay, well, thanks for the comment and the boost in the algorithm.
Well, the funny thing is with that, dude, when we were dealing with a lot of Germans and such like that, they would say things that were completely fucked, and we're like, really, dude?
Yeah, say squirrel.
Yeah,
say
squirrel. Say
That's
develop. Develop. That was the big one,
dude. Yeah, we've talked about this in private. Andrew is like, I believe that Germany spawned autism.
Mm-hmm.
I believe that that's where it literally spawned. They tried to call it the Nazi Party. It happened to become autism. Pedanticism. I'm just joking. It's a joke. It's not a dick. Don't take it so hard. Whatever. Anyway, so we're gonna get into your vid.
We're gonna do it. Let's see, share the screen.
Have you seen this yet, Trey?
Mm-hmm.
Oh, you already watched it? Nice.
Yeah, I watched about 80% of the way through it, and then
We're
I was like,
super busy on nights, so
what? Yeah. All right.
So you can tell I did this a little bit ago because my hair is much shorter.
Wow.
But yeah. The reason why is because this video had to go through all kinds of fucking copyright shit to finally be live. So it was a long time coming. But so yeah, I'm just breaking down the longest day in this video. And let's see here. Where should we start?
Yeah, it's wherever you want, like, you know, what you want to talk about.
I got a good one. Okay, so everyone I think is familiar with the famous Frenchman on seeing the German on horseback. Okay.
Mm-hmm.
So yeah, this is me covering the scene and what the reality of it was. Let's see. Can you hear it? Can you hear it? Okay?
Yep.
This is his oh shit moment.
You shoot a rifle at a bunch of ships.
Yeah. Pull off this horse here. Oh shit! Oh
Yeah, this is an interesting part of your video.
Okay. There's a lot to say about this. So this famous scene with the fat German on horseback and the elated old Frenchman is sort of based on actual events, but again, you know, this is all stuff that's from Cornelius Ryan's book. And Cornelius Ryan, he was, you know, a journalist. He wasn't really a historian, so everything in Cornelius Ryan's book is not completely accurate. It's not 100% true. There's a lot of embellishment in it, and there's a lot of just straight up made up stuff. And you know, he was a journalist, but even a number of historians have done that over time. Interestingly, this scene right here was filmed at the St. Honorine Draw, which is the actual location of Major Werner Blueskat's observation bunker at WN 59. It was on the opposite side of that draw right there from this house, and that house is still there today. But this old Frenchman right here is meant to represent Michel Hadelet, who was a veteran of the Armée de l'Air and fought during the Battle of France in 1940. And he was also a resident of Vieuville-sur-Mer, which is the westernmost village
of Omaha Beach. Right away, the big issue here is that the guy in the movie is an old man. You know, this you can tell he's an old guy. The real Michel Hardelais was only 31 years old on D-Day in 1944. But hey, old farts portraying real life guys who were in their 20s and 30s in 1944 is a running thing throughout The Longest Day. So I guess I'm not too surprised by that. But because Michel Hardelais is depicted here as an old man, when I first saw this movie when I was younger, I just assumed that this lady here was his wife. But in reality, Michel Hardelais lived with his mother. She was only in her 50s at the time. Michel Hardelais and his mother originally owned a large seaside house called Les Hortensias, or the Hydrangeas, that was eventually requisitioned by the Germans. And then the Hardelais were eventually forced to move into a house back in Vieilleville. From his house in Vieilleville, Michel had a good view of the channel, and as well as the Vieilleville descent on his left, the German nest WN-71 straight ahead, and then the nest WN-70 on his right. Actually, I should just stop right here and let Michel Hardelais say what he actually saw that morning when he spotted the fleet, because he actually did write out his own testimony after The Longest Day came out. I obtained this from a contact in Vieilleville-sur-Mer, and then I had to have it translated to English because it's only in French. Shout out to my friend Tom Bernard for helping with that a couple of years ago. Keep in mind, this is a translation, so some of it might sound a little bit awkward. I had to reword a couple things in order for them to make sense in English, so just keep that in mind. But I'm going to read to you this testimony written by Michel Hardelais documenting what he said he saw that morning. First, though, I'm going to give his thoughts that he put down on the book and the movie. So here we go. When Cornelius Ryan came to see me, accompanied by an interpreter, to collect an anecdote for the historical novel he was about to write in 1959, he took some notes after hearing the interpreter's translations. Was this translation accurate? Did Ryan mention all the details? Did he even reread them? In any case, his text does not correspond in some respects to what I told him. As far as I am concerned, only my age is correct. According to his book, I was a lawyer who also had a brother and a niece, none of which are true. He states I heard the cryptic radio broadcast that morning, which I did not, since all the inhabitants had to leave their radios at the town hall. Finally, the German riding a horse to the beach that he says I saw every morning is misinterpreted. Daryl Zanuck, inspired by Ryan for his 1962 film The Longest Day, didn't even bother to get my age right. I was 31 in 1944, and my mother was 54. Ferdinand Ledoux, the actor who played me, was 65 years old, and Pauline Carton, who played my mother, was 78, giving a gap of 34 years for me and 24 years for my mother. And yet, a film team visited me to take notes about my height and build. As for the scene of the German on a horse and the naval shelling, Zanuck combined the grotesque with the ridiculous. This is the truth. I was awakened around 3 a.m. by the sound of rapidly expanding aircraft engines. By the time I reached the window and heard a whistling sound, I could see the glow of 5 or 6 bombs exploding on the cliff face by my mother's field, 35 meters from our house. Anticipating the consequences of what was to come, I got fully dressed, told my mother and the maid who had been awakened by the explosions to do the same, and went to my window every quarter of an hour. But nothing out of the ordinary happened. Suddenly, a curtain of mist parted on the horizon, revealing thousands of ships, a superb, grandiose sight. I shouted to my mother, "Look at the sea!" And as I passed my bedroom window, I saw my neighbor coming out of his house, and I shouted to him, "It's the landing! Go to the sea and admire it!" He went into the vegetable garden behind his house, accompanied by his wife. We were all stunned at the sight before us when a cart pulled by a speedy Norman trotter arrived, driven by a German non-commissioned officer. He passed the grocer's shop, followed the Rue de Hamel Apatre for 50 meters, and turned left into the meadow where the breach in the barbed wire fence was located. It is true that a certain soldier always brought cans of juice to the men at their posts at the same time every day, but that morning, this was not the same German. He was bareheaded, with his tunic open and his shirt billowing above his breeches. He seemed to me to be from the 352nd Division's company stationed in the area and had been ordered to go to the Vieilleville Cliffs and report what he saw. At this point, the non-commissioned officer stood up, spotted the fleet, jumped off the cart, and sprinted towards the post. As for the horse, he turned around and trotted back to his stable with the cart behind him.
Sensing that the shots were going to start due to the proximity of the boats, my mother took her jewelry and money and we headed for the shelter in our garden. Before going down to join her, I placed 10 bundles of wood over the top. As soon as I went into the shelter, the naval fire started. It was a little after 5:30 a.m. British time. And the bombs exploding on the cliff next to WN-71 that Michelle describes were from the bomber planes that morning, not the naval bombardment. But in the movie, the naval bombardment is the only part of it we see. Both the naval bombardment and the air bombardment missed all their targets, by the way, or almost all of them. Michel did not wait around to see the naval gunfire that morning because he wisely chose to head to his shelter once he realized what was about to happen. I mean, this was about to turn into a war zone. You know, even if these French civilians were, you know, happy that the Allied invasion had finally come, it still meant that this was about to be a war zone. You know, this whole area was about to become a war zone. So when it comes to Omaha Beach civilian testimonies that I've read and listened to, they always say that the first thing they did was they went to their shelters, which were commonly dug in their backyards. That, or they went into their cellars. You know, if they had cellars, they would immediately shelter themselves because they knew that this was a war zone. I get what they're doing here with this patriotic stuff, but I am really not a fan of it. You know, during these bombardments, these civilians would be terrified. I mean, they'd be terrified all day. You know, it's freaking war zone outside. They wouldn't be hopping around with waving flags, jumping, celebrating, cheering while 5-inch naval shells explode all around them. You know, as Michel Hardelay said, it's grotesque and ridiculous. And in my opinion, it really undermines the danger that these people face that day. So yeah, that's that part I thought was significant in terms of the actual history.
So a little off topic though. His I wouldn't say just his memory, his ability to state everything, like
articulate.
Yeah, like the German's tunic was unbuttoned, his shirt was over his pants. Like I put 10 placards of boards. Like imagine a kid these days, or hell, somebody my age. Everything's recorded video, etc. now, but like imagine EMP hit and they're like, can you give me a testimony of what happened today? And they're like, yeah, we did that. Like that's something that's lost to time. Like people cannot.
I disagree a little bit, Trey, because I think when you've got severe trauma like that and severe like fear, and you're literally like, I'm about to die, and it's prolonged. It's not like a quick incident. It's like an all-day thing.
Well, I think it's a generational thing. Like back then, there wasn't video. There was like you have to explain everything via letters. Like he's very articulate. Like he took the cart down this road. He went into the breach of the barbed wire. He rode up. He saw the fleet. He jumped off. Then he even described the horse. The horse left. Yeah, like I don't think just generation or even the ones behind this or before this would even be that articulate.
I disagree wholeheartedly, because I believe when somebody goes through a traumatic experience like that, there's one of two things that usually kind of goes along with that. Either you remember it, every single fucking detail, the smell, the temperature, the you know what happened, who you saw and whatever, or you block it out and conflate it and get it wrong years later. Yeah. I believe this is one of those things, one of those instances where he had it was locked in, basically.
Yeah.
And I think people nowadays are still capable of that. When you actually, here's the thing is people, oh my God, this is gonna be a fun rant. But like,
I mean, I've seen it at work. Like when we've asked for people's witness statements.
Sure. Like, yeah.
Like you get one like, yeah, the man was acting up and the police shot him. It's like, well, no. And then you get another testimony. It's like the person was acting out. 911 was called. Deputies or police officers showed up. They couldn't restrain him, so they shot him with a pepper ball gun several times.
Yes,
that's very different. Like compared to like
here's
just
the thing
shot
is people are all different. There's people. I don't want to get into it too much, but there's people who I was with overseas. We went through the same thing together, and I've been talking to them recently, and they don't remember a lot of things that happened. Okay. because they just kind of block it out, or their brain just whatever doesn't remember it as well as other people. This particular person, this French guy,
well, he was also an officer, right?
Yeah, he's a very wealthy person. It looked like his their house. Like, my God.
Yeah,
it's huge.
But and it's right on the
it.
coast. I mean, that's prime property even then.
Yeah.
But like, I don't know. I can remember a lot of things that my buddies cannot. And I think it's just an individual thing. And I think it's very subjective. And maybe he's right. Maybe he was totally off. Maybe he remembered what he wanted to remember. But the fact that he said, yeah, the guy's tunic was unbuttoned.
Yeah.
That's not out of the ordinary. He was riding alone, and juice, which I believe is like juice.
Well, he said, it's funny when I translated that, the word in the word for juice they use is in quotation marks. So I don't know if that meant like.
So it might have been milk. It might have been stew. It might have been juice.
It might have been
like
booze.
Actually apple
I don't
juice
know.
Or some shit. Yeah, it might have been booze
in the morning. I don't know.
Well, it might have been the hair of the dog kind of situation.
Yeah, boy, we're gonna get wrapped around the axle in the morning. Fuck yeah.
This place sucks. It's boring as fuck.
The thing is, though,
the hair of the dog going on.
Right. The thing is, though, there are things about his testimony that are undisputable. The fact that he says, I went to the window, I saw 5 or 6 bombs explode, and he had in his thing, he lists the actual distance of how far it was, and you can see in aerial photographs from his house to you can see those craters. So it's like there are things in that it's like, well, that is undisputable.
Right, because it's like some people, like I said, can remember very specific details, even years after. Some people just forget about them, and then it's like kind of like convoluted and fucked up. It's not their fault. It's like, yeah, they went through the experience, but like some people just whatever. And but yeah, those bombs, oh my God, that must have been so fucking, dude. Ordnance is so loud when it goes off. It's so fucking loud. But yeah, I mean, it's a really good point that I'm glad you made in the video, is the civilians also suffered that day.
Yeah, absolutely. Well, I want that stuff to get recognized, because it's not just about the frontline men who are shoot at each other. It's like, let's talk about everyone who is caught in this whole fucking mess.
Yeah, it was a disaster. Like, I mean, as humanity is concerned, it was a disaster.
Right.
It was like, I mean, I'm sure. Do you know how many, off the top of your head, how many civilians actually were killed that were recorded that day?
Not in terms of the overall operation. Vierville-sur-Mer, there were, I think, 4.
Jesus.
For Colville-sur-Mer, there were, I don't know the number, there were more, and I actually do have photos of U.S. medics treating civilians around there, and they're like,
so they were definitely hurt.
Oh yeah, I have photos of French civilians in Colville-sur-Mer on army stretchers, like getting treated by medics.
That's and it didn't stop, by the way.
Right.
It doesn't ever stop during a war. Civilians get hurt all the time.
Yeah.
And through World War II, Korea, Vietnam, any war you want to talk about, Cargill, like people got killed.
Yep.
And I don't like that, and that's why I don't like war in general. I think it's really stupid.
Absolutely.
And it's unnecessary. But like no, but the fact that you actually kind of pointed that out is like good, because there were more people than combatants who were injured and killed that day.
Oh yeah.
It's not like a good victorious, whatever. It's like, well, okay, here we are now.
Yeah. Now we're left with this and the grieving families of those people and everything.
And Trey, one of the reasons we wanted to bring you on is like we're going to get into the 29th.
That's next
portion of it, and you're really good at that, so it's going to help for you to be here. So let me just, there's a little interesting point here that
la Flakverling. But not really.
Just quad mount for the Browning.
Angers-sur-Mer battery in Normandy. If we look way in the background, we can see a harbor. That's the harbor of Port-en-Besson. And then above that is the actual Omaha Beach right there on the horizon. So yeah, all of the stuff we see in it that's where all that shit really happened. It's just right there in the shot. So kind of cool.
Yeah, Spurt 2.
I don't know why they did that.
Also, fuck that shit.
Yeah.
Interesting. Old school green screen shot type thing there. Very close
Yeah.
to each other.
I mean,
all right. We're getting some text that says 0632 hours, which was the scheduled time for the very first wave at Omaha Beach. Actually, it was 6:30, 0630. I don't know why it's off by 2 minutes here, but whatever. Then we get this montage of, the Americans getting ready on their landing crafts and such. They would have actually started gearing up around 3 a.m. So still in pitch blackness, they would have started gearing up, at 3 in the morning. And then they would have started loading onto their landing crafts between like 4 a.m. and 5 a.m. And then their boats would have left their motherships and formed these like circles, these assembly circles. And they would have done that until it was time to finally go to the beach. We see some interesting stuff here in this montage. The guys going down the cargo nets into the LCVPs or the Higgins boats, already sitting down in the water. That was a common way to load onto those things. Another way of doing it, though, was called rail loading, and that's where the landing craft would actually still be fastened to the ships, and everyone would pile inside, and then it would be lowered down into the water. It's kind of hard to make out some of the details and the uniforms and the gear, but I'm guessing this was another case where they used actual military assets.
Yeah, pause this really quick, Mike.
These extras.
Yeah.
So those are 45 packs. Am I not mistaken, Trey?
It's a hodgepodge. They're mixed in.
They're just like just mixed up. It's not
that one right there. Yeah, that one right there looks like a 45 pack because the straps on the top.
And so they would have been carrying usually 28s, right?
The first wave would have been usually carrying the ass jack.
The ass jack, yeah, which has its own pack built into it. The assault vest. It has its own pack built into it.
Those fucking stupid things. Yeah.
Yeah.
Right.
On paper, they're a great idea. I mean, they're a vest that can be stripped off quickly, but we had one veteran from the 29th Able Company, Lieutenant Ray Nance. He said that he had his altered to form fit, and he said as soon as the water hit it, and he's like, that was a bad idea. He said he couldn't breathe. He couldn't breathe because it's thick canvas. It's almost like tent material.
Yeah.
He had it because they were given to everybody like 24 hours before the invasion, so like June 4th.
Yeah,
because the invasion was delayed 24 hours, but he was given. They were giving it to like they were not training with this shit. They were like, here, try this out. It's cool. So half the guys didn't know what to do. Like you see photos of BAR belts or M1 belts underneath with the life preserver underneath, and then
underneath it. Yeah,
top,
I've seen that a lot.
and vice versa, the ass jack on M1 belt or BAR belt, and then
so just fucking weighed down.
So yeah, it wasn't like today where you get a field manual like here's how you wear it. It's just like here, try this, enjoy.
It was like a really rushed field test. Yeah,
very, very. And the sad part is it was British made. Like I don't think any of them were made. They're all British made. So half the shit didn't work. Like there's metal eyelets on either side to like attach canteens, but it doesn't work because how are eyelets set up? So like on paper, it's a great idea. Like it's got two pull tabs. You pull it, the thing falls off.
Yeah.
But once you put your M1 belt over top of you, have to undo that. You have to do the life preserver. But that's the first wave majority. Like even the first ID, they had a different color one. Theirs was the khaki version. The 29th got the OD version.
Yeah.
The first waves would have been predominantly the ass jack or the assault vest. And then later waves would have been just carrying the regular 28 pack.
Yeah.
But yeah, I mean, and here, I don't think, do you remember seeing any in this film?
There is none. There are none. I actually mentioned that in just in a little bit here. We'll see. But
they're very rare. Like they were only used for this. And I can't ever find it, but I want to say somebody said that when they did their research, the latest they found one in historical documents was like September 44, and the guy had cut it.
Kind
So
of
it's only-
it was like a bra. Yeah.
Yeah, he only had the 2 chest pockets, but the lower pockets and the ass pocket was gone. So he just cut the belly. So I guess he could use his like M1 belt under it.
Mm-hmm.
But yeah, he's like, this is
Well,
much better.
It has the fastener at the chest too, so
Yes.
that makes sense.
Yes.
Yeah.
But
But,
everybody complained that it was, once it got wet, it was heavy and it was hot because it's
Right.
just another piece of heavy canvas on top of everything you've got.
Yeah. There's one photo I remember that was taken right before the landings of a guy wearing one, and he has his canteen, and he like cut holes in the side so he could hook his canteen to
Yep.
it.
Yep.
It's just
And
weird.
I think I've seen photos too where they just hook the one eyelet so the canteen's hanging at an
It's
angle.
like sideways.
Oh,
Yeah, because they don't, because like I said, it will not work on your on the eyelets because there's no hole. Like I said, he
Right.
cut one, but some people was like, this will work. They just put it through the one ring and let it dangle.
All right, should we keep going?
Yep.
Yeah.
Were actual soldiers who were dressed in, some modern gear and maybe like a cross between some World War II gear. I can't really tell. What I can see though are that there are a number of black guys within these units, and that would not have been a thing. The only black soldiers you would have actually seen on Omaha Beach on D-Day would have been guys from the 320th Barrage Balloon Battalion. Those are guys who were tasked with setting up those big barrage balloons. They look kind of like blimps. You see them hovering over the beach, over beach exits and over bunkers, and a lot of photos taken after D-Day. It was their job to set up those things, and they actually would have been on the beach on D-Day. I mean, you could have maybe like, guys on the decks, some black soldiers on the decks of these ships while everyone's loading onto the landing craft amongst some of the white guys. But once it got to the actual units themselves, no, there would not be black guys mixed in with the white soldiers. Something else that I noticed is that, we see a lot of these LCVPs and LCMs as well in this sequence. And the LCVPs, they're all marked PA-44. Well, that's the classification for the USS Fremont. The Fremont was an attack transport that was used towards the end of World War II in the Pacific Theater. It was used all the way up until 1969. So that's why, we can see the ship being used in this scene. That's the ship they used for the movie, obviously. So, of course, the numbers on the landing craft are going to be the numbers of the Fremont, but that's not accurate. So in this green screen shot right here, or composite shot, it was 1962, that big ship in the footage behind them, that's called an LSD. Yeah, I know, right? LSD, haha. It stands for Landing Ship Dock, and that was not used in Europe at all. That was solely a Pacific thing during World War II. The LCVP Higgins boats, they're way too close to each other. Also, look how sunny it is. I mean, the sun is just shining down on them. This looks more like the Dragoon landings of southern France that would have happened 2 months after the events of this movie.
Nein, bringen Sie selbst. Sagen Sie, unsere Verbindungen sind gestört. Die Leitungen sind durchschnitten. Meine Herren, bitte.
For the time period this movie came out, I do think this is actually a fairly good depiction of the German perspective. I like how not everyone is like a bumbling moron, or a fanatical cartoon villain. And, that's rare to see in American war movies of this time period. And also, they're actually speaking German. That's also something you don't see from this time. My only criticism, though, is that with the German perspective in this movie, it's solely focused on the commanders.
Yes.
That's one thing I've always noticed about this movie. It's solely focused on what's going on behind enemy lines. We never have a German character actually in battle in this movie. I mean, Pluscat's kind of the closest we get to it. But there's never a perspective of what's going on the front lines. But, we have that for the Americans, the British, but we don't have that for the German perspective. It's all like from their offices.
Mm.
Okay, we're going to talk German stuff first, then American stuff. Whoa.
Yep.
Now that's impressive. Oh, nice. Stop footage.
There it is, man. Omaha Beach, dead ahead. Stand by!
Going up a little too soon for the very first guys to hit.
How many guys were on a fucking
30.
For a LCVP, for an LCM though, they could have like about 60, I think.
So pause this really quick.
Yeah.
So
Yeah.
that was like 150 fucking dudes.
Yeah, the regular landing crafts, the Higgins boats, the LCVPs, and the British LCAs as well, they would hold 30. That was the standard.
Yeah.
The larger ones that we see right there are the LCMs, which can also hold like a vehicle. And they would usually, though, if they were just carrying men only, they could hold about 60 guys.
Now,
So did they use those on the first wave at Omaha?
I don't believe so. The LCMs were, like I said, they're more easier target. So it was like that was later waves.
No, they didn't.
Okay.
That was not. That would. Yeah.
Just wondering. Yeah.
Cool.
Jesus.
I have those old school ricochet sound effects.
Yep.
Some tanks up there.
Off of the beach. Let's go.
Oh, there's the shadow of the camera. Screw it. We're not setting this up again. It took us 20 hours to set up the shot, and we're going to roll with it. Hey, man, I get it. All right. So, yeah, let's talk about some of the stuff we saw there. This is such a rudimentary depiction of Omaha Beach that it's difficult for me to know where to begin. This is really like the first time in the movie that we see the Germans, well, at least for the Omaha Beach scenes, that is. And if I'm going to comment on their uniforms and gear, I mean, it looks like your typical Hollywood German from that time period, you know, all wearing M36 tunics with the dark collars and shoulder straps. They're wearing ill-fitting, shiny helmets, all wearing black marching boots, you know, not a whole lot of gear being used at all. I noticed that during the bombardment scene, Unteroffizier Fatso, aka Goldfinger, he had on the pre-war pointed shoulder straps rather than the rounded ones. It should mainly be a mishmash of M40 and M42 and M43 uniforms, but they would also be wearing their HBT uniforms. A lot of these guys, they'd be wearing those summer HBT uniforms. They're much lighter, and you saw those along the coast a lot. It also wouldn't be uncommon for some of these guys to be wearing their HBT Drillick uniforms. You know, they wore those for work detail. For example, Franz Gockel of Grenadier Regiment 726 of Company 3, he was at WN 62, which overlooked the eastern side of Omaha Beach. He wrote in his memoir that he was actually wearing his Drillick uniform on D-Day, the entire day, because he had planned to dig trenches that day. He mentions that his wool uniform was back in his barracks. So you could see a lot of that as well. And if I want to get even more pedantic, some of the guys along the Atlantic Wall would also be wearing like repurposed Reichswehr tunics. You see some of that in photographs. And also a lot of guys would be wearing retailored Dutch tunics, you know, that would be retailored to have Litzen, German Litzen on them and stuff like that. Now, for a movie from 1962, I would definitely not expect that to be the case. I would not expect them to go to that level of detail. That is some super nerd level detail. But if you're into World War II history, there's an extra fact for you. Now, regarding the weapons, we see a number of MG42 machine guns getting set up, you know, which is pretty typical for a war film of this time. The abundance of MG42s at Omaha Beach, you know, that's another common misconception. The MG34 would have actually been a more common machine gun. Interestingly, though, we do see on the far left here a water-cooled machine gun getting set up. That's actually not unrealistic. You actually see in a lot of photographs a lot of old machine guns, you know, water-cooled machine guns being put into service along the Atlantic Wall. One typical thing that we get in this is that while these guys are running to their positions, we have an alarm going off. You know, I've seen that depicted in a lot of D-Day media, especially video games. But I've never found any evidence or testimonies from anybody that ever mentions like an electric alarm or siren going off to alert.
It's the best D-Day movie ever.
German testimonies usually state something blasphemy, like an alarm was raised, but that's just referring to their alert status. You know, that doesn't actually mean an electric alarm or siren was going off like it was an air raid. When it came to these guys actually being ordered to their positions, they just said that, you know, their NCO would show up at their barracks and yell at them to get ready. That was it. The geography, the whole layout of the beach, yeah, it looked nothing like that. For the defenses, the very first thing that sticks out to me is this gargantuan concrete wall along the escarpment. I guess this is meant to be like an anti-tank wall, even though it's got its own like shelf on the inland side, so guys can actually stand on it like it's a parapet. It's a complete fantasy, you know, that the Germans had nothing like that along Omaha Beach or really anywhere along the Atlantic Wall. The only thing I can sort of compare it to would be some of the anti-tank walls that were built around parts of Pas-de-Calais. And there's only one I can really think of that had like a parapet type thing that guys could actually stand on like that. But it's still way bigger than anything the Germans had when it came to anti-tank walls along the coast. What is kind of neat, though, is that we do see a French tank turret integrated into a fortification. You know, that's called a Panzerdreturm. And that was a real thing. You know, after the fall of France in 1940, the Germans needed armaments for their Atlantic Wall, and old captured French tank turrets were a good solution for that. But if I'm going to be a pedantic dick again, which I will be for history's sake, the correct Panzerdreturm fortifications for Normandy would have mainly been APX-R turrets from French Renault R35 light tanks. And what we see in the movie here, though, is an APX-4 turret from a French Chabi 1 tank. And the APX-4 turrets were mainly used in Brittany rather than Normandy. So it's the right concept, but the wrong location to use that kind of turret. But it is the only time, I think, in any movie I've actually seen a Panzerdreturm fortification. So that in itself is really cool. Trench is far too wide. It's not zigzagging like it should be. It's lined with your typical sandbags. I've never found any evidence of Germans using sandbags along Omaha Beach. There are no dug-in positions for machine guns or mortars. They're just sitting out in the middle of the battle trench. You know, everyone is way too close to each other. I mean, if a grenade fell in here, like you'd have about 10 dead guys in a second because everyone is just clustered right next to each other. And there's no, you know, corners to anything. It's all just one big straight line. The mortars, which are just American M1 mortars, by the way, instead of the German Granatwerfer 34s that they should be in their own dug-in positions, you know, apart from the trenches, or they should be in fortified Tobruk positions, concrete position. And to top it all off, the beach is way too short for H-hour. It would be much wider than that. The German obstacles are just scattered all over the place, which is pretty typical for Omaha Beach depiction, instead of having them in 2 rows, which is how they actually would have been. I don't see any quintet obstacles along the shore, but I do like that they have included the Minenpfahl posts, you know, the stakes with the mines on them. Those were there, and those usually get neglected in depictions of Omaha Beach, so that's a plus. So the German stuff is pretty bad, of course, but what about the American stuff? So this is supposed to be the very first boats in the first wave hitting Omaha Beach. So that would mean that this is likely the western end, like Charlie Sector and Dog Sector. The point is that if these are supposed to be the very first boats in the first wave that hit the western end of Omaha Beach, then they should be the British LCAs rather than the American LCVPs. A lot of Americans came across the channel aboard British Royal Navy ships. So a lot of their little boats that they were in, their, you know, landing crafts, were British LCAs crewed by the Royal Navy, especially in the first waves. The GIs themselves, well, kind of like the Germans, they're just like your basic World War II costumes that you saw in a lot of these war movies back then. They should all have their helmets buckled, most definitely, but as was popular in movies back then, they just have them loose, dangling around. From what I can see, Robert Mitchum and Eddie Albert are the only ones wearing the M41 jackets. Everyone else seems to be wearing the M43 jacket, and they all look very dark because they're OD green. That should not be the case. Everyone should have the M41 khaki jacket. The only kind of pack I'm seeing on these guys is the M1928 pack, and that's accurate. But what I'm noticing is that a lot of these guys, their packs are just flat as a pancake. You know, they're completely flat. They have nothing inside them. They just pulled them out of a stack and threw them on the extras. No, these things, they should have stuff inside them. They wouldn't be flat. Of course, I don't see any. That's what they should look like right there.
Well, I've got a 1910.
And this is just a blanket, basically. There's nothing really else in it. Just a meat can, shovel.
Dude, that fucking diaper, that glorified diaper, that fucking thing is a hunk of shit. Like, that fucking pack is so bad.
I've had to assemble a couple of those, and it was a nightmare every time.
So these are the outlets I was talking about.
Yeah.
There's a hole here, but
Oh shit!
You
Oh, I hit the wrong fucking button.
There, he's back. He's back.
How the hell did I
can't-
get you to be the main screen?
I don't know.
Son of
But
a
yeah,
bitch.
like I said, the British was like, "This is a great idea. We'll just add eyelets for your gear," but it doesn't work.
Yeah.
So
I also heard that those are for clipping grenades in there, which I can imagine one of those
I
would
don't-
fly out immediately.
No.
well, see that's what this pocket's for. This little small
Okay.
pocket.
Right.
You could put a grenade in there, and you wrap this strap around the grenade itself, which
Jesus
Okay.
Christ.
it's only one strap. So I've played with it, and all I can think of is like loop it through the ring and then around the head of the grenade, but
Mhm.
it still takes forever to get out. But I mean, these quick pull tabs are great.
Yeah.
You've got the main pack back here underneath the shovel, and then you've got an ass pack right here.
Right.
I mean, like I said, on paper they're great. They're like a World War II vest.
Mhm.
On paper they're like, oh yeah, great. You throw it on, everything's on. You don't have to like have your pistol belt with attached to your gear. You could throw that on, then your pistol belt, or however you want it. But unanimously, everyone hated them after they were like, "Fuck this! They get wet. They're heavy. They're hot."
Yeah. Hal Baumgarten, who was in the 29th Division, he was in Company B.
Mhm.
In his memoir, he talks about that his best friend told him, "Don't wear that fucking thing." So
I think I remember that. Yeah,
yeah, he actually just had his regular pack. He didn't wear the assault jacket.
it was optional. Like,
Mhm.
no, I don't think anybody at command was like, "You will wear this, or you will get court-martialed, or whatever." I don't know if I think it's Bukowski's book. Apparently, they were like free will, like whatever the fuck you want, take it. Like,
Right.
apparently, one veteran said that when he was in the sausages in England, they were like, whatever weapon you want to take. Like, he was offered a paratrooper carbine, which I don't know how, but he said that they were offered. He said he picked it up, but the stock was wobbly. He was like, "No, I'll just stick with my regular one."
There, you can actually see Navy personnel with paratrooper carbines on Omaha Beach. So yeah, those
Yeah.
were there. It has never been completely solved as to why that was the case, but yeah, you could see that there. All right. You know, standard invasion equipment that you would see on these guys. No ass jack vests. There it is. No, pilo film bags for their rifles. No
Right.
carbines on the barrels of any rifles. No one has any scrim on their helmet. I saw that the actor Eddie Albert was the only one wearing a Navy life belt.
Really quick,
but
Mike.
when they're coming off
pause
these
this.
boats,
So
yeah.
the 116th Trey, were they wearing scrim? Because as far as I know, they were.
Everyone was.
Okay.
Everyone on the 116th, because that was kind of mandatory. They were all
First
wearing,
wave guys mainly, yeah.
yes.
Okay,
helmet
so
scrim.
116th guys are wearing scrim, and they always just fucking
don't
associate
have it.
that with the airborne. It's like,
Of course,
yeah.
yeah.
well, there was a lot of airborne regiments who did not wear scrim, and they were
I'll
clean.
grab it.
Yeah.
No, the scrim thing, that's like a first wave thing because they immediately thought they would be, right in the hedgerows and such fighting. So
Yeah.
they, the first wave guys, also with the 1st Infantry Division, scrim on the helmets.
Okay, so it's first
This
and
is-
29th.
Yeah.
This is airborne, but this is scrim.
Well, yeah, I've got mine too over there. I
Yeah,
don't want
it's
to get,
just to
noisy.
break up the outline of the helmet. I do have a 29th, but I don't have scrim in it at the moment.
No, that is something that I have had to tell a lot of people. I've, done depictions myself of certain things and be like, well, why are the 29th guys wearing paratrooper helmets? It's like, it's not a
It's not
paratrooper
paratrooper
helmet.
helmets.
It's
like,
not a paratrooper thing. That's just,
they're
for
wearing
first.
a fucking M1 that's got a net on it, and then the net is to put
Yeah.
shit in there, like grass. I'm gonna grab my M2.
Yeah, there you
quick.
go.
It's right here.
That's
I'll
a
just show
British,
people.
yeah. That's a British thing too. The British with the, they were the ones that
Yeah,
kind of
yeah,
introduced it to
definitely.
the
I've
Americans.
seen a lot of pictures of the British wearing scrim,
Yeah.
and the Canadians, and the Free French, and the Polish.
So, Smitty, when you had your 29th impression, were you fully scrimmed?
Only for D-Day.
Okay.
Yeah, here's my M2.
Yeah.
because you see them later on, like the net would wear out because they were using it for other stuff. Battle
Right.
damage. It's just a simple cotton string, so
Oh
it
yeah.
would it would get roughed up on tree limbs when they set it down on rocks or brick or whatnot. It would just tear it to shit. So the net would be null and void to a certain extent. Later on, you see them get refitted and they start using like not quite the fishnet nets, but other type of scrim, like not the 1 inch, but they would replace them. But I don't think later on they ever put scrim back in it.
Yeah, 5th Rangers on Omaha Beach had shrimp nets on their helmets.
Yeah.
No shit.
And then and then 2nd Infantry, I don't think had any nets on their helmets at all.
Huh.
Yeah, 2nd Ranger Battalion. I mean, if I said that right, yeah, 2nd Ranger Battalion. Sorry, 2nd Ranger Battalion. No,
Same thing.
no.
Same thing.
But yeah, I do have a couple photos of 5th Rangers, and they have that shrimp mesh net on their helmets.
Really quick shout out to J. Murray 1944 Inc. Trey,
Yeah,
check this shit out. This thing's
awesome.
fucking beautiful.
He does great work.
Oh, he's the best. I think he's the fucking best.
I love
Top Pots.
that.
Top Pots is great, baby. Trust me.
They get along. They're not enemies, but like I think Josh does better work.
I can agree. Yeah, I don't think
Like-
I have anything from either one of them. Like I've mainly, like you, I've done mainly my own stuff. Just because
Yeah, there's certain things
ability to do
you
it.
just have to get done by somebody who's a fucking pro, and it's like,
Yeah, but I just don't have that need. I guess you could say.
Well, I
Like,
wanted a
not-
fucking
not-
M2 just for like posterity and like for future videos and whatever. And like I got like I'm pretty sure it's a Korean era liner, and then had Josh restore it. It was an airborne liner, but like the yolks were all fucked up and they were whatever.
They
And
always.
so I had him restore that and then restore one of my front seams that I had bought before they got retardedly expensive.
Speaking of the 29th in this film, I don't see, to my recollection, none of this.
No, I don't see that either. in that film.
Nope. They don't have that on any of the helmets.
Yeah, all I see is the rank, colonel, captain,
Yep.
general.
That's all
This
they
was-
give it.
This
Like,
this was
you know.
mandatory. This was mandatory for the 29th. Like once you got in, it was to build unit cohesion. You had to put this on, or somebody would have put it on for you before you got it.
Right. Yeah.
Like even replacements. Like in St. Lo, Brest, General Gerhardt set up, which even back then standards was amazing. He did like a Repel Depel training unit. So he'd pull NCOs off the front line and do like a confidence course for like a week. First thing you did was put your patches on, you paint your helmet, and then you'd go to the range. You'd talk to the NCOs, they'd give you some pointers, etc. And it helped integrate the new guys into the unit because I wouldn't say the turnover rate, but the attrition rate was just horrible. So he addressed it real quick. He's like, well, we need to do something. So that was one of the main things. You had to have that on your helmet.
Mm-hmm.
Also, you bringing it up later in the video, if you're in the 29th, Uncle Charlie will fuck you up if you didn't have that chin strap on.
Yep. That's the thing.
fuck you,
Every
yeah.
29th guy, you always see the chin strap.
Yep.
Yeah.
Yep. There's a
See
funny
those-
anecdote load later on, like when they're in the hedgerow country. Uncle Charlie, General Gerhardt, adopted a Irish setter dog, and he named it Normandy. And the dog would run everywhere with him when he was driving a Jeep, or the Jeep was driving him, or whatever. And the soldiers said that was their early warning system. Like, if you saw the Irish setter, you better buckle your chin strap because Uncle Charlie's around.
Yep.
Yeah, he was a stickler with that.
Dude, he was bad, man. Like they loved him, but they hated him equally because
Was he in World War One?
Yes,
You know,
Yeah,
it's
he was-
funny.
he was. If you read Bukowski's book, he was friends with somebody at either West Point or World War One or both, and that's how he got his position. I wouldn't say that's why he got his position in the 29th, but he was connected, and he should have. I wouldn't say should. He could have gotten in a lot of trouble, like especially I think it was Brest. Unofficially, he set up a whorehouse, and it got back to the ring knockers, and they were like, "This is not official. Like, this is bullshit. He needs to be charged for setting up a whorehouse." And nothing really came of it because he was connected and he had results. Like, he took St. Lo, he took Brest.
Sure. Yeah.
So I think later on, like when they were on the gates of Germany, it was tried to be brought back up, and I think he was in ex facto relieved of command after before the very end of the war.
Interesting.
But he was relieved, but he wasn't. If it makes sense, like it was
No,
nothing official.
I got you. Yeah.
It was more of like, you should probably go home and enjoy your civilian career now. And he was like, I see what's behind the door.
Yep.
Crazy.
I was just wondering, like, because like in World War One, it was you wore your helmet chin strap one of two ways.
He had a very particular. It had to be below your chin, not under, right on your chin.
Right, and that's kind of like so you said he went to West Point.
He's a ring knocker. Yep.
So that's probably why he did that, not just World War One, because like I know
a
lot of guys.
He had high standards for uniform. Like he wanted everyone to know his boys are the best because one, they were National Guard, so they were looked down by the active army and the ring knockers. So he's like, I want my boys to be the best. I want them, like, even in combat, like your uniform will look good, you'll be clean shaven, your helmet will be buckled per the TM, everything. Yep. So like I said, people loved him and they also hated him just as much because of shit like that. Like I think I told you in a previous video a while back, he was the same general who told his commanding officers, you will not set up a field headquarters inside of a building.
Mm-hmm.
Huh.
It's a double-edged sword. He's like, well, if you're in a building, the Germans will target that building. But then again, it bit them in the fucking ass when they were like on the gates of Germany, because they were like, where the fuck do we set up our field headquarters? Like in the town square? And when the Germans, always counterattack, that was the first to fall. And apparently one of the officers, I think of Charlie Company, set up his field headquarters in a cellar. And the town was surrounded. They brought in Stugs and all kinds of other shit and took the town back, basically. And he blamed that commanding officer because he put his field headquarters in the cellar.
Fuck.
Yep.
That's good. That's good leadership.
Loved and hated.
Loved and hated.
All right. Should we keep going?
We shall.
I'm pissed, but I'll be listening.
No balls. You want to do it? No balls.
Why don't you shut your fucking cock holster, Trey?
Of course, I don't see any, standard invasion equipment that you would see on these guys. No ass jack vests, no, pilo film bags for their rifles, no condoms on the barrels of any rifles. No one has any scrim on their helmet. I saw that the actor Eddie Albert was the only one wearing a Navy life belt, but when they're coming off these boats, everyone should have those life belts on. And then there are some more anachronisms that are pretty typical of the 1960s war films. You got the 1945 bayonet lug on the M1 carbines. That's something that you see in a lot of war films back then. That wouldn't be the case in 1944. And then you see, the big M20 super bazooka being used. I see that thing pop up in all kinds of movies in the 50s and 60s and 70s. They're supposed to be in World War II. I get it. It was common. It was a weapon that was, being used at the time, but that thing wasn't finished until late 1945. It never saw use in World War II. So for demolition teams coming off of Omaha Beach, their bazookas should be, like the M1 or the M1A1 variants. Again, I'm seeing a lot of black soldiers mixed in with the white ones. This is not Korea or Vietnam, man. This is World War II. African American soldiers would have been segregated to all African American units back then. Executive Order 9981 didn't happen until 1948. In this huge wide shot, we do see that in the upper right corner, there are some tanks in the background. That's accurate. There would have been tanks landing on Dog Green and Dog White sector from the 743rd Tank Battalion in the first wave. So that is accurate. Now, I bet you $1 million that those are simply plywood flats that are set up way the hell back there on the
100%, because those first two are identical.
Yeah, they're the exact same outline.
Yeah, they're identical. Like the hatch and everything's open. Yeah,
it's open. Yep, and they're at the exact perfect angle.
Correct me if I'm wrong. Only 4 of the 12 made it ashore. Correct?
No, that's for the whatchamacallit, the DD tanks of the 741st on the eastern end.
Okay.
I think it was, the number is, I think 48 of the tanks of the 743rd on the western end did make it ashore.
Okay.
On D-Day. So yeah, like that's also like something that you sometimes hear, like all the DD tanks sank. It's like, well, what happened was they tried to launch the DD tanks of the 741st when they were supposed to from their ships out into the water, and immediately they started to sink. And it was like only, I think, like 3 or something made it ashore.
Yeah, 1 minute at all.
So
and
at
I think
that point,
they abandoned the rest of them. They're like, we're just gonna leave them on the ship, right?
that's what that's what it
Yeah.
is. That the rest of them, they just took them immediately to the beach. They said,
Yeah.
screw this whole thing, just drop them off. So there were tanks on the beach, but in terms of the ones that actually, the DD tanks actually swam, with their canvas skirts, there was only like, I think 3 or 4 that actually made it. Yeah.
But they were supposed to hit the beach first before the infantry, I believe.
That's right. And they did. Yeah, they did. So they actually would have been the first things to come up onto the beach.
That's not what I have a problem with. The problem is that they're actually Pershing tanks. You can see the outline of them. They're actually Pershing tanks, but they should be Sherman tanks instead. That's my only real complaint with it. Other than that, it's an old school effect that still holds up today. What does not hold up, though, is some of the acting by the extras, in my opinion. Again, I know this is a product of its time, but sometimes I just cannot get past how they depicted death.
This popped up in my head. Why is there a rubber craft? Why are they pulling it on?
That, I think, might be meant to represent the engineers, because some of them would have their TNT and stuff, inside a rubber raft that they would pull ashore like that. I think I don't know if that specific raft that we saw is accurate, though. I probably not.
Well, in the film, it's completely empty. I'm like, why are you bringing that inflatable?
Yeah, no, if they were going to do it right, it would be full of like boxes and shit. Yeah.
Or if it's empty, just shit can it.
Yeah, that's what I'm saying. Like, why are you bringing it up the beach? It's not bulletproof.
It's fucking stupid.
In the water right here, he's just looking at the camera, like waving his arms, like, what are you doing? What is that? Is that how people react when they get shot? It looks so stupid.
They're standing.
Yeah.
Hey, look at that. Look at that. There's like a flame like spurting out of the APX-4 turret up there on the wall to simulate a muzzle flash. That's kind of neat.
They replace it with
that's like some kind of maybe gas-powered effect to get that fire to come out. But in reality, it would be like a bang, The rate of fire is like a semi-automatic, it seems. But it's kind of ridiculous, but a neat little effect. At least they did something rather than just have it sit there.
Hello, General, sir.
You all right, boy?
Yes, sir.
We can probably skip ahead to something else here. This is where we start talking about Norman Coda.
He went on to lead the 35th, right?
Hurricane Forest. Yeah.
Fuck that campaign.
Right.
Jesus. Ardennes, though. Ardennes. Band of Brothers.
Yeah.
The Ardennes.
Ardennes.
So
the 29th unanimously when Coda left, they were disappointed. They were happy because he got his own command, but they were not happy that he left because
he was
28. Yeah, so he was very well liked by most of the men, and like I said, Gerhardt was a love-hate relationship, but Coda, from what I'm understanding from reading, he was well loved.
Mm-hmm. Well, and especially because of stuff like what he did on Omaha Beach, which we'll get into.
Yes.
When he landed on Omaha Beach on D-Day, and Cornelius Ryan's book, as well as this movie, were the start of all of these quotes and stories surrounding what Coda did on Omaha Beach. When Cornelius Ryan was writing the book, he had this like questionnaire kind of thing that he was sending out to all of these veterans, and Norman Coda was one of the guys who got one, so he filled it out and sent it back to him. But then eventually Coda sat down to do an interview with Cornelius Ryan. It's kind of interesting, though. Coda is hardly mentioned in Cornelius Ryan's book. I think he's only mentioned in 3 pages. There are only 3 pages that have his name on there, but he's become the one of the main characters of The Longest Day. So he became one of the main characters of the movie here. So Robert Mitchum's character, Norman Coda, he was a real guy. He is based on a real person, but he is the only real person depicted during the Omaha Beach scene. Eddie Albert plays a colonel in the movie who Robert Mitchum just refers to as Tom. He's completely fictional, but I think he might be based on Colonel Charles Canham, who was the commander of the 116th Infantry Regiment. And he actually did land with Coda on Omaha Beach, pretty much just like how Eddie Albert is with Robert Mitchum in this scene. Now, Another weird thing, though, is that Canham is mentioned in the book. I don't know. Maybe Canham was threatening to sue 20th Century Fox if they used his name. I don't know. I don't know why they had to change his name to Tom in the movie. Coda's aide-de-camp on D-Day was 24-year-old Jack Shea, and he was with Coda the entire time on Omaha Beach. Now, Shea is not mentioned at all in Cornelius Ryan's book, but he is briefly mentioned in the notes that Ryan took while he was doing an interview with Norman Coda, where he actually misspells his name. So, obviously, Ryan did not track down Jack Shea to do an interview. But one thing I did notice in the movie is that Robert Mitchum is followed around by this guy with Captain Bars on his helmet. And I don't think they ever say his name at any point, but maybe that guy is meant to represent Jack Shea. Who knows? Jack Shea eventually did write everything down he experienced on Omaha Beach. He wrote it down in a very detailed document that was written in November 1944. So pretty fresh when it comes to memory. And that document has become pretty much the best source of what happened with Norman Coda on Omaha Beach. The document has been a big source for books like Joe Balkowski's Omaha Beach book and Noel Mello's book, D-Day General, which is about Norman Coda. Unfortunately, Cornelius Ryan never came upon Jack Shea's very detailed document when he was writing The Longest Day. So the genesis of Norman Coda is a bit misinterpreted and vague. For example, Norman Coda's boat, which was LCVP 71, which came from the USS Charles Carroll. That's right, it was not one of those larger LCMs that we see in the movie. That came to Omaha Beach around 07:30 in the morning in the second wave, not the very first wave like what we see in the movie here. So all the initial carnage that we see, you know, when these guys are landing, that would have been already going on for about an hour before Coda and Canham even came ashore.
So yeah, that's kind of how Coda actually did come ashore. But I do eventually have an animation with my maps that where I show this sort of thing.
We'll the one that I said was fake, and then
Very...
and then people were like, "Oh, is it fake, bro?"
What the fuck are you talking about? Yeah,
just getting interaction. That's all I'm doing.
We'll skip to that.
Then get off this damn beach. Like, what have you been doing for the past 5 hours, Coda? You know, just sitting there watching the carnage happen.
Again, the real Coda and Canham hit Dog White sector around 07:30 after a lot of carnage had already happened. LCVP 71 actually got caught up on a mean foul post and couldn't go any farther. Around this time, right next to Coda, LCI 91 was pulling back and set off a mean foul obstacle on its port side. The damaged craft pulled back due to the gunfire and made another approach about 100 yards east. The exact cause has never been confirmed, but from my own research, I believe the 88mm PAC 4341 inside the R677 casemate of WN72 was responsible for nailing LCI 91's front starboard side during its second approach. Which killed everyone in the number one compartment and a number of soldiers and sailors that were on the deck. After this happened, Coda and his cadre finally reached the wooden seawall on Dog White sector and immediately went to work putting units together and finding ways to get off the beach.
I love the audio added to those maps.
Thanks. Yeah, that was a lot of sound effects.
Yeah.
A lot of work there.
We're getting off of here. We're going inland.
What about weapons, General? Most of my men lost everything they had. They're not afraid to fight. They gotta have something to fight with.
Strip the dead and the wounded. Pick up anything that
Khaki undershirts.
Yeah, I noticed that too.
You all know it.
Good stuff.
Two kinds of people are gonna stay on this beach. Those that are already dead and those that are gonna die. Now get off your fights. You guys are the fight 29.
The guy's just standing back there. I'll just walk along the beach. Okay, so it might seem a little bit Hollywoodish at first, but all the testimonies regarding Coda said that he was standing upright like that, walking along the beach. You know, a lot of the testimonies also state that at the time it seemed like a pretty foolish thing to do, pretty stupid. And there's also an account that his aide-de-camp, Lieutenant Jack Shea, was like yanking at his jacket to try to get him to get down. He was also panicking. All of the witnesses say that he walked upright like that, you know, to inspire the men, which did work. But yeah, a very dangerous
thing to do. You know, I mean, if he hadn't been so lucky, he actually had been killed while doing that. It probably would have been remembered more as a cautionary tale rather than one of badassery. But yes, regarding all the testimonies with Coda, they all do a line and say that he was just walking upright like that while giving orders. The lieutenant, though, who comes up and talks to Coda right here is a bit of a different story. There were a couple officers who did come up from the seawall to talk to Coda, and these would have been guys from C Company of the 5th Ranger Battalion. If we go back to my little map animation here, it was around 0800 when Coda had already placed a BAR team just beyond the seawall to provide covering fire. Right after this, Coda met up with Captain John Rayan of the 5th Rangers HQ Company, who then pointed Coda to Lieutenant Colonel Max Schneider, who was the commander of Force C of the 5th Ranger Battalion. That's where Coda said to Schneider that the, quote, Rangers need to lead the way. In both cases, both of these men returned for cover after talking with Coda. But in the movie, the guy just stands there in the background for the rest of the scene. It's like, get down, idiot. What are you doing? And then, of course, you know, famously, we get the line, there are two kinds of people on this beach. Those who are dead and those who are going to die, which is a quote that's attributed to General George Taylor of the 1st Infantry Division, not Coda. Now, there are a number of testimonies that describe different things that Norman Coda said while he was on Omaha Beach, such as Rangers lead the way. But the most famous Norman Coda quote is, "We are being killed on the beach. Let us go inland and be killed." However, the origins of this specific quote are a bit nebulous. Jack Shea's detailed account of what all happened on Omaha Beach with Norman Coda doesn't mention Coda saying anything at this stage. The very first source of this quote actually comes from Cornelius Ryan's notes that he took while he was interviewing Coda in 1958. And if we're looking at it right here, the 8th line down says, quote, "To a group of Rangers, C Company of 2nd Ranger Battalion, we're getting murdered down here. Let's get murdered up there." Right away, it was not Company C of the 2nd Ranger Battalion. They were already attacking WN-73 from the west after scaling the cliffs on Charlie Sector. It was Company C of the 5th Ranger Battalion on Dog White Sector. But the really weird thing is that Cornelius Ryan noted this in his interview with Coda, but for some reason, in the Longest Day book, Colonel Canham is the one who says this line, not Coda. And I don't know why that's the case, but other than Cornelius Ryan's book, I haven't found any famous quotes attributed to Colonel Canham, or any quotes at all for that matter, attributed to Canham. The brief conversation that Captain John Rayan of the 5th Rangers had with Coda while they were on Dog White Sector was first published in Joe Balkowski's book Omaha Beach in 2004. But then John Rayan himself later wrote a much more detailed account of that conversation in a 2018 witness statement. Neither John Rayan's own witness statement nor Joe Balkowski's book mention anything about John Rayan hearing "let's move inland and be killed." So I don't think Coda said that to him. But there are some sources that lead me to believe that he might have said it to Colonel Max Schneider of the 5th Ranger Battalion. Going back to Joe Balkowski's book, Omaha Beach, we go to page 197. John Rayan said that once Coda met up with Colonel Max Schneider, he said to him, "Colonel, you are going to have to lead the way. We are bogged down. We've got to get these men off this goddamn beach." Now, there is some similarity there to the quote about "let's move inland and be killed." Now, another testimony, this one by PFC Randall Ching of the 5th Rangers, says the following, quote, "I remember General Coda on Omaha Beach. When he met with the battalion commander, Coda said, 'Colonel, we are getting slaughtered on the beach. You Rangers got to lead the way. Get off the beach,' end quote." And then later in the same testimony, he says this, "Another thing, quote, another thing that Captain George Whittington of B Company said was, 'All right, you Rangers, you're going to die. You don't want to die on the beach. You want to die inland,' end quote on the whole thing." So those statements, along with Cornelius Ryan's notes from 1958, lead me to believe that at some point, Coda probably said something along those lines. You know, I don't believe that he was out here like giving this big speech and he said, "Let's go die inland and get killed." You know, I don't think that. I think that he probably said it while passing along more orders, and maybe other people who heard it repeated the same thing as a way to try and inspire people to get moving.
You guys engineers?
Yes, sir. 299.
Where are your officers? Who's in charge here?
Well, I guess I am, sir. None of our officers made it in.
What about your equipment? Those Bangalore torpedoes work? Yes, sir. We'll make them work. What's your name, Sergeant?
It's Fuller, sir. John H.
Well, you're Lieutenant Fuller from now on, whether you like it or
He wearing
not.
an M42.
You send
No,
some of
it's
your men
M43.
What are you looking at?
The sergeant's jacket. I thought it was an M42 because of the button at the top, but it's an M43.
Oh yeah, no, they're M43s.
down on the foot of that gully with those Bangalore torpedoes, and you and the rest of the men follow me.
Yes, sir.
Fuller. That guy's made up. That guy's fictional. He's not based on anyone real. I also like going back to the whole uniforms and gear thing. I like how his mess kit pouch for on his pack is just completely flat. Put something in there to make it look like they actually have something in them. But this scene is kind of where the history starts to get really screwed up, I would say. In this final scene, they take a few separate things that happened on Omaha Beach and combine them into one. Robert Mitchum here approaches this guy who is supposedly an engineer, and he says he's from the 299th. Well, the 299th Engineer Combat Battalion landed on the eastern side of Omaha Beach, not the western side. So members of that unit would never have crossed paths with Coda on Omaha Beach. Now, at this time of the battle, when Coda was walking up along the beach, along the seawall, giving orders and such, the only recorded time that he ever had any interaction with engineers was with Lieutenant Colonel Robert Ploger of the 121st Engineer Combat Battalion. According to Ploger, Coda had told him to go find Bangalore torpedoes, but he wasn't able to do that. So the majority of the Bangalore torpedoes that were used for this job had just come from the wire teams that were all gathered along the seawall. You know, the wire teams were in every boat team that landed on Omaha Beach, not just the engineers.
I got a rifle, sir.
Well, good for you, son.
You know, I got to admit, I do like Robert Mitchum as Coda. You know, I like Robert Mitchum in everything I've seen him in. And the funny thing is, though, I know that Norman Coda didn't like Robert Mitchum playing him in the movie, I guess because of his lifestyle. But, you know, this line right here, good for you, son. That's not documented anywhere. But after reading everything about Coda, I could see him saying that. So, yeah, sure, why not?
My Rangers are ready, General. Okay, Major, move them up. Captain, move them up. Move them up.
Oh, Tom, we're ready. Ready as we'll ever be.
Ready for what?
It'll work. It's got to work.
See, I don't get this part at all. You know, first, this is the only time that we get a mention of Coda working with the Rangers on Omaha Beach. Is this guy right here who comes up and says, yeah, we're ready. And then he's gone. That's the only time that we get mention of the Rangers. But yeah, he's like, we're ready. He's like, okay, go. And then Eddie Albert here shows up and he's like, yeah, we're ready. And he's like, okay, good. I mean, ready for what? I mean, ready to blow the wire? Ready to get men off the beach? What's even happening here? I don't understand.
We're getting murdered here. We might as well move inland and get murdered.
Yeah, see that?
God, this video sucks. Whoever this fucking
let's move
faggot
inland to be
is.
killed line to Colonel Not Canham. I'd have no idea why. Do you want to stop it?
I'm fucking with you, Mike. Jesus Christ.
No, if there is a lull in any of it, let me know.
No, it's just like, there's so much bullshit around what actually happened on Omaha Beach during Overlord.
Yeah, absolutely.
Like, and I'm just like, what the? I mean, I guess any film that's made about anything, like any landing or any operation like that,
right,
is going to be filled with bullshit.
It is, but yeah, I like how they combine these events into one. Let's jump ahead a little bit.
Right. Well, it's like, it's a film. And I get that.
Before you, like I said, you go, the 30-man boat team, everybody in that boat had a job. If you were a rifleman, you were also doing something else. You were carrying Bangalore torpedoes, breaching charges, which is a 2x2 stick about 12 feet long, and it had like 20 TNT blocks strapped to it.
Mm-hmm.
So did they? Okay, Trey, did they not, like the infantry guys? Did they not train with the engineers in England prior to the invasion?
I think
how to do this.
I think they were instructed, but it was kind of more of like it's kind of a
pocket class.
Yeah, it's kind of a simple task. Like you're not, like they would put the blasting caps in their helmet net and stuff like that.
Oh my God, what the fuck? Really?
Just the cap. I mean, if it did go off, you'd probably have a concussion, but it wouldn't kill you.
Yeah.
I mean, it's a piece of tube this big. It's like a cannon fuse. Like
I'm
Mike
aware
said.
what a blasting cap is.
But yeah, they'd put the
fucking
straps
story.
in their helmet and whatnot, and they would go in and like you said, the Bangalore torpedoes, they would just click them together, shove them through under barbed wire, insert the cap, pull,
Boom.
and run.
Yeah.
But they also had satchel charges.
Yeah.
So you had like one bazooka team, a 30 cal team, a BAR team, I think a mortar team, and then everybody else was riflemen on the boat. And that's another thing. The 29th, the only people carrying carbines would have been the officers and the mortar team. The BAR team would carry a BAR and M1, and everyone else would carry M1 Grand.
Right.
So they were like, you would be carrying your rifle, all of your shit that's soaking wet by now because of the rough waves and rain.
Yeah.
On top of like 2 or 3 Bangalore torpedoes, or you're carrying the breaching charge, which, like I said, it's a I think 2x2 foot pole that's about 12 feet long, and it has like a rotating head of like 20 blocks of TNT. I'll see if I can find a photo here in a second.
It's like a box at the end of a big stick. Yeah.
So basically, you would take it and throw it against the wall and shove the stick into the ground. So it's basically a World War II force charge. So you put it against a bunker, pull like the fuse is along the stick that you have. So you shove it against the wall, put the stick in the dirt, pull the fuse and run. And the fuse would go up the stick and blow a hole in or knock out a bunker, basically.
Yeah.
I will see if I can find
that's demo team, right?
Yes.
Yeah. Yeah. Because like wire team are just the guys with the Bangalore torpedoes.
Yeah.
Oh, geez. Hold on one second. I'm gonna keep this going. Someone's calling me.
All right.
First thing we got to do is blow holes through that wire with the Bangalores. And if that works, we'll pack everything we got under that wall. All right, let's go.
So, yes, while Coda was getting things organized, like I said, guys were crossing the Promenade Road and placing Bangalore torpedoes in the wire. There's no road here. We just have the wire. But, yeah, guys were placing Bangalores to blow up that wire. Now, most abridged versions of the story just have one hole in the wire that was blown, but in reality, there were multiple spots in the wire that had been blown open. And again, I'm only talking about what Coda did on Dog White Sector. We're only focusing on the stuff that was going on around Coda. If we wanted to talk about every breach in barbed wire along the entire 5 miles of Omaha Beach, we would be here much longer. Nope. Look at that. He pulled it apart. The Bangalores, they came apart as he was running away with the wire. Someone would have to go back and reset that. Real Bangalore torpedoes, the sleeves that connected them, they had these clips on the inside that would snap when you put them into place. So that sort of thing wouldn't happen. Oops. What this guy is using here to set off these Bangalore torpedoes is called a 10-cap blasting machine.
Yep.
It's an electrical detonator. It has wires connected to it, and it blows up. And that could be used to set off Bangalore torpedoes. But for wire teams coming out of boats, in boat teams coming up along the beach, the standard way to set off Bangalore torpedoes was with a waxed M1 fuse. It's this little device that you stick in the back of a Bangalore torpedo, and it has this little handle on it. And you pull that handle, it lights a literal cannon fuse that burns for about 10 seconds, and then it blows up. And that's what we should be seeing here instead of the 10-cap blasting machine. We should see instead and put it in, go, and then just run back, rather than doing this whole thing with the wires. Oh. It's very nice that the Germans left that open for them.
So now we get to the second part of this whole plan, by getting through the German lines here by blowing up this gigantic, as I called it, the gargantuan concrete wall here. And as I said earlier, this whole thing, this concrete wall, it's a complete fantasy. There was nothing like that along Omaha Beach. They're combining the breach in the wire that General Norman Cota did, and then the destruction of the anti-tank wall at the D1 beach exit at Vierville-sur-Mer. But in our Omaha Beach history, we have to backtrack a little bit because the blowing of the wire and then the destruction of the anti-tank wall were two separate things. So around 0830 in the morning, C Company of the 5th Rangers and C Company of the 116th Infantry made about 4 gaps in the wire along the seawall of Dog White sector. On the eastern end of the breakwaters, C Company Privates Ralph Hubbard and George Lucy made it through the gap but got cut down by machine gun fire. And the engineer getting gunned down in the movie is probably based on that. In order to urge everyone forward, Cota brazenly ran across the Promenade Road, through the gap in the wire, and jumped in some abandoned German trenches. Led by Cota, single files of troops slowly made their way across the marshy, high beach area until reaching a draw that led up the plateau. So this was actually how guys on Dog White sector started to get off the beach and move up to attack the Germans. What about the destruction of this wall, though? Like, did Cota personally supervise the destruction of an anti-tank wall and then order everyone to rush through it like what's depicted in the movie? Well, Cornelius Ryan's book certainly alludes to this in a very vague description, and obviously the movie says that he did. But the answer is no, he did not. But sort of. So after a while of trying to figure out what to do next and encountering some small arms fire and artillery on the plateau, Cota and Canham and their mixed units made their way across a field to the road that led to Vierville-sur-Mer. It was around noon when they finally reached the town, and Canham decided to set up his CP near the Vierville church, while Cota and Jack Shea decided to make their way down the Vierville descent to the Dog 1 beach exit. While they were in Vierville, the U.S. destroyers McCook and Thompson, as well as the battleship USS Texas, were firing 5-inch salvos at the exit that was guarded by the German nests WN-71 and WN-72, and specifically 2 large concrete casemates housing anti-tank guns. The main obstruction of the Dog 1 exit to Vierville was a concrete and stone wall protruding off the side of a R677 casemate housing an 88mm PaK 4341. During this bombardment, the Hotel du Casino and the Lake Chimeras houses were destroyed.
Yeah, get some.
Around 1300 hours, an estimated 30 Germans came out from their shelters waving a white flag to the destroyers. These Germans were evidently taken prisoner by soldiers of the 121st Engineer Combat Battalion on Dog Green sector of the beach. A line of concertina barbed wire crossing the promenade was either cut with wire cutters or blown with Bangalore torpedoes.
Bang it!
Allowing First Lieutenant John McAllister and Major Alan Olson of the 121st Engineers to make their way across the niche in the anti-tank wall and proceed towards Vierville.
Niche. Actually, not niche.
Halfway there, they met up with Cota and Shea. McAllister took the general down the descent, and as they neared the anti-tank wall, about 5 Germans from WN-71 came down through their tunnels to surrender. The Germans wanted them to tend to some of their wounded comrades who were up on the plateau, but Cota refused this and instead made them march through the niche in the anti-tank wall to make sure there were no anti-personnel mines. These Germans were also taken prisoner by the 121st Engineers. Now through the wall, Cota moved east along the Promenade Road, using the parked tanks of the 743rd Tank Battalion for cover. Here, he met Colonel Lucius Chase of the 6th Engineer Special Brigade and asked if his men could destroy the anti-tank wall. Chase told the general that they had no TNT at all. So then Cota spotted an unmanned army bulldozer on the beach carrying multiple wooden cases of TNT and said, "Use that thing!" And then he took off. Soon, Cota reached another army bulldozer topped with TNT boxes and asked a nearby group of soldiers huddled together on the seawall, "Who's driving this thing?" Eventually, a red-headed soldier, thought to be Joseph Drago or Al Valenzo, it's not sure which, volunteered to drive the dozer to the Dog 1 exit. Coda continued east along the Promenade Road with Jack Shea to try linking up with the 1st Infantry Division on Easy Red Sector. Back at the anti-tank wall, more members of Company C of the 121st Engineers started to arrive, including the battalion commander, Lieutenant Colonel Robert Ploger, who Coda saw earlier on Dog White Sector. They had no idea that Coda had just been through the area, so they started to form their own plan on how to destroy the wall. 3 men led by Sergeant Noel Dubé set out on a recon up through the wall and only saw a couple Germans moving atop the plateau of WN-71. When Dubé returned, the 2 bulldozers carrying TNT had arrived, and Ploger ordered everyone to start setting up the charges on the wall. One thing that should be noted is that the anti-tank wall at the Dog 1 exit is usually described in many books as 6 feet of reinforced concrete, and that is a gross exaggeration. The anti-tank wall at the Dog 1 exit actually was only about 2 to 3 feet thick, and it was part of it was cobblestone. It wasn't even reinforced concrete. And the hastily built wall also had a big vertical crack down the center, which you can actually see in a recon photo that was taken on May 19th of 1944. In any case, Ploger didn't know whether or not the wall was reinforced, so he used as many TNT cases as possible. It was sometime between 1300 and 1400 hours when the wall was finally set to blow. Once everyone was sheltered, Sergeant Dubé ordered one of his men, Private John Olenek, to set off the charges with an electric detonator, the 10 cap type that we saw used in the movie. The massive explosion disintegrated the anti-tank wall, proving that it was not reinforced with steel bars. After this, the anti-tank pit in front of the wall was filled by one of the bulldozers, and by that evening, tanks of the 743rd could finally move off the beach. So thanks to Cornelius... So yeah, that's the actual story of blowing that wall. Yeah. That's how it actually happened.
Here, share mine. I think I said it. Yeah.
Yep. I'll share yours.
So these are the demo charges.
Right.
So those are blocks of TNT, and along the pole is the fuse with the blasting cap at the bottom. So you actually see these in Saving Private Ryan. Some of the guys are holding them on their shoulder, like running with them. They're up at an angle because they're about 30 pounds. But yeah, the idea is to flap that against the wall of a bunker, put the other end at an angle, pull the blasting cap, and run. But you also see Bangalore torpedoes. This is a 30-man boat team, and everybody in this stick has a job, like squad leader or platoon leader. But everybody here is riflemen. There should be a BAR, 30 cal gunner, etc. The NCO, but like I said, it wasn't just a mad dash. Like I tried to find a video of, because this is like a demonstration of like what the boat team is supposed to do.
Right.
I can't find one.
Well, I have an actual photo that shows guys in England.
Yeah.
Like that. Yeah.
Yep.
This one right here. You can see that's what this is right here.
Yep.
And this guy has one too, and he has it on the ground.
Oh, okay. Okay.
Yeah.
Yep. So yeah, you see the blasting cap up there.
Yeah, right there.
Yep. But there's another photo I found of a 29er, and he has his patch flipped, and I was like, that's savage. Gray forward instead of blue.
Right from the south.
Oh yeah. Either that, or he just like he looks young as shit, so he's probably just like, I don't know, it puts on this way. But I'm going with the prior. So
these are you see the Bangalore torpedoes right here, and then the ass jack we've been talking about.
So that's, I want to say one of our guys in our unit said that's first ID. He doesn't believe that's 29th. But if you look, he doesn't have a BAR belt. He's just filled all of his pockets with the BAR mag.
Yeah, you can see those are BAR mags right there because there's the BAR.
He's ditched the belt altogether.
Mm-hmm.
And he's jerry-rigged the canteen to fit into the ass jack somehow.
Yep. Yeah, they're all wearing it.
Yep. But yeah, from my understanding, I think the one of the older guys in our unit believes that it's first ID because you can see the toggle ropes on the guys in the front.
Yep.
I don't think the 29th Rangers used them, but the 29th Rangers was disbanded. So that's another reason I think we believe it's the first ID.
Huh.
Yeah, but hey, only the
toggle
used scrim.
Yeah. But toggle ropes are interesting. But yeah, the Rangers and I think First ID had some. They're pretty unique, but they're
The
pretty.
Rangers definitely had the toggle ropes and made good use out of them coming off Charlie's sector. So anyway, yeah, my video all about the longest day. It's a long ass video, and that's just some of it.
If you ever do one on the airborne, please explain that when you get excited news, you take your coffee cup and you just across the fucking airplane hangar, because that's what I would do. Fuck that porcelain cup.
Interesting.
That I don't know why, but that's the only scene in that movie. I'm like, okay.
You talking about where John Wayne does it? Yeah. Mm-hmm.
He just yeets that bad boy like a Hail Mary. The evasion's on. Gone.
No, it's good shit. It's good too because like, the 29th was pretty prevalent at Omaha, like, and people don't really give a shit about that unit.
Yeah, they get faded because and forgotten literally by the U.S. Army because Operation Cobra was going on, and that got all the focus because they're like, oh, we're actually pushing into Germany or going towards Germany.
Yeah.
And the 29th was sent west. They went to Brest, St. Lo, the Vire. So they were on back burner. Like even they got folded in under Patton, and we're like, we're fighting too, man. We need munitions, etc. And they got to the point, I think, is either St. Lo, no, St. Lo, where was it, Vire or wherever. They were restricted, like they didn't get enough ammunition. They were restricted to like 10 rounds a day for artillery. Each gun was restricted to 10 rounds a day.
Jesus, yeah.
Yeah, and I mean, if you know anything about American doctrine,
3 fire missions.
The U.S. doctrine was very prevalent on artillery. So 10 rounds a day for each gun, that's nil. So yeah, like they were bitching and complaining. And I think Gerhardt finally was like, if you're not going to support me, put me under somebody that will support me.
And then he went to the 28th.
No. Gerhardt was in charge of the 29th until Germany. He was only
but is he the one that went to the 28th? No,
that's Coda.
Oh, gotcha.
Yeah, he was XO. Gerhardt was the CO.
Gotcha. We're on track. We're good.
But yeah, he was under Patton, and Patton's like, you're in the backwoods. No one cares about you. I'm going towards Germany, and I need everything I've got, all the ammunition, etc. Which, on hindsight, playing the devil's advocate, it's hard to divert ammunition in a completely separate direction across like 100 miles of unknown territory. Because, I mean, there's sporadic Germans everywhere in the territory. So just sending munitions unguarded through unknown territory is kind of, haphazard. But I can't remember how, but they did finally get it. I think that's who it was. I think Gerhardt was friends with Bradley, and he reached out to Bradley. Was like, I need support and I need help somehow, some way. Put me under somebody else. And it finally got worked out. And then the numbers got bumped back up, and they were like, artillery's here, fire for effect, whatever you need, we'll code it. And but yeah, they were put on back burner for the longest time. And ironically, Band of Brothers gets like this plethora of, they did the biggest, the baddest, they were the most special. The 29th ID was just a National Guard infantryman group, and these poor bastards went up against the hardest men. Like they fought the 6th Fallschirmjäger Regiment at Carentan in Normandy. Then they went to Brest. That was held by Fallschirmjägers. They had to fight them poor bastards too. And they were playing hedgerow tactics the whole time. I think it was not Cherbourg. What was the other one? There's another town they took. And like I said, they the whole time they were just fighting tooth and nail. And then they get to Germany. Don't even get to see France. They drive by it on the train like, okay, we're going to fight again. And like I think they got like a week reprieve after taking Brest, and they're like right back into it. Like the Band of Brothers, the 101st was like, oh, you get like a month in England, or you get a month in Holland to chill
Well,
out.
that's kind
29th
of
was in constant contact for the whole
right.
time.
That's the thing too. Is my unit, the one that I was in, the you know, the 32nd Division, right? The Red Arrows. Up until like I think GWAT held the record for the most consecutive combat days for any unit in the United States Army, and it was 654.
Yeah, like I said, when they got to Germany, I think they were fighting the Volkssturm, not the Volkssturm, the Volksgrenadiers. So they were like heavier,
Right,
heavily
and this
outfitted.
unit, my unit was in the South Pacific, and they were one of the first. Actually, one of the first ones there. They went to Melbourne, and then they went to New Guinea,
Ugh.
and they were the ones fighting there, and like Buna and shit like that.
Yeah.
They just sat there with the Australians, just getting slaughtered, and then so New Guinea's done. Oh, we're gonna go to the Philippines.
Just sucked.
Okay. Yeah, and so my unit's got a lot of like lineage of like in both world wars of like doing that. Also, National Guard unit, right?
Yep.
Not active army, so it's not like, oh, the fucking Rangers or the first ID or the fourth ID. It's like, no, kind of just get discounted. And it's like, no, I'm proud to be able to wear 2 of these patches. And because it's like, man, those guys went through fucking hell. And nobody gives a shit about it. And again, I think Mike and I were talking about this earlier. I think it was it on this pod or before we were talking for a bit, where it's like the Army in the Pacific like never gets recognized.
Yeah,
because
we were talking about that during this.
Okay, yeah. So my unit fucking sustained about 85% casualties in World War II, somewhere around there, and never gets recognized at all. It's all just the Marines, all this shit.
If I remember correctly, in Joe Bukowski's book, the last one, there's like 5, and if you ever want to get like in a deep dive, it's a pretty good book. It goes to the whole war. It's broken up into chapters. I think the 29th had 113% attrition, because they just kept getting fed replacements. And
well, same with the 32nd. Yeah, exactly.
I don't think anybody landed at Omaha made it through the whole war unscathed. Like everybody was either wounded, killed, and like there were a few who were at Normandy. They were either wounded at Normandy, Brest, St. Lo, Vire, etc.
Yep.
Went on leave, R&R, and then they came back and was probably, I know there's a handful or quite a few that made it to Germany and made it home, but nobody was unscathed. Like everybody got fucked.
Yeah.
Even the engineers, the medical staff, everybody.
There was a dude I was watching. I got to find this video. He was in Charlie Company of 1st Battalion 128th, which I was in the 128th as well, right? 1st Battalion 128th. But he was in Charlie Company World War II, and he was an OG guy who had been in the National Guard before the Second World War started, and he went through the entire campaign. And he said, I was one of 3 guys in my company who had been there since the beginning.
Mm-hmm.
And he's like, or something like that. I don't want to like misquote him, but like it was something like that to that effect. And dude, a company is 100. Well, when you're deployed, it's 150 people.
Yeah.
Okay. And one of 3 people who were there originally, not good odds. And he was wounded, I believe, as well.
Nope.
And it's like, so like the National Guard units, when they get deployed, back then especially, it's like, dude, even in World War One, like the 32nd Division, there's a reason it's like, I don't have the red arrow patch, but like there's a reason that this insignia exists. And I understand why the blue and gray exists as well. So this is the Hindenburg line. Or I'm sorry, this is the Hindenburg line, and this is how we got our name. We had a huge attrition rate, casualty rate in the First World War. That's how we got our patch, and it's a red arrow. Like every time we seem to deploy, we kick ass. Every time the 29th deploys, they seem to kick ass. I met guys in Iraq who were in the 29th. They had 29th combat patches on, right?
Mm-hmm.
I said, "Are you Virginia National Guard?" They're like, "Yeah." I was like, "Right on, man." And they were good guys, and I'm like, it's a weird thing of like
So the
people
29th
people
didn't
just don't
really get,
appreciate the National Guard. Like the 29th
yeah,
was a National Guard unit that hit the fucking first wave at
yeah.
Omaha, but they always focus on the other shit, like the Rangers and
Oh
shit
yeah.
like that. And it's
the,
like,
the Rangers, the Airborne, like the special forces.
yeah, like okay, they were all there. Yeah, I'm not disparaging
Yeah.
anything from that, but like
No.
they just don't give a shit about like these,
The grunts.
I don't even know
the
what
regular guys.
word to use.
The regular guys. The other guys.
Yeah, and like there's a lot of active units who were
Yeah.
in combat and saw a ton of shit. Like the 100th Infantry Division. Holy shit.
I mean, the 90th, they were rolling too.
The 90th,
Yep.
yes.
They
I
were
was just telling Mike, was that on when we were talking? I think
Yeah.
that was, I can't
Yeah,
remember if
talking
it was,
about-
or, so I
Yeah,
knew a
but-
guy when I was a kid. He was an older guy when he joined the Army in World War II, became a radio telephone operator and some other cool shit. And then, but he was in the 90th ID, right? And he landed on Utah Beach, D+3, okay, like a lot of people did. But then he was in every fucking engagement,
Yeah.
you could tell, but he never fired a shot because he was an RTO, and he never fired a shot. But he was an old guy, and I was a kid, and he was like super open about it, and he said, "Yeah,
Hey,
it was really scary." And
check the comments, Mike.
yeah, what's up? The 32nd Division. What the hell is it called? There a lot of units after World War One would publish books about their
unit histories.
It's the hold on, let me Google this really quick.
We didn't get to see it in the video, but when you were talking about the Jeep at the very end, I don't think that was part of the historical accuracy, but that was another one of General Gerhardt's pet peeves or general orders. 29th ID was not allowed to put tops up through the whole war.
Oh, really?
The canvas top had to stay down.
Hmm.
And like I said, he was a ring knocker, so everything had to be spick and spam. His poor fucking driver would have to clean the Jeep 5 times a day.
Fuck that.
Like he didn't make him like, you will do this right now. Like he was just like, I don't want to disappoint this guy. I want to keep my job. He treats me well. He's a good general. So 5 times a day he would take kerosene and clean that fucking Jeep. And it's in the museum in Maryland right now, the Dandy Fifth Museum. It's the name of the Jeep was Vixen Tour.
Huh.
And once he started getting the unit like people would start putting shit on his Jeep, which was a big no-no at first. And he started like easing up on the guys. Like, all right, they're starting to come together. They're starting to bond. They've got spirit decor in them and shit. So I think his Jeep was fucked up several times, like either shrapnel, bullet holes, etc. So they would start taking yellow paint and circling the damage where it was hit as like a spirit decor type camaraderie type thing. And so that was little pet peeves like that. And another thing, he did not like handing out medals. I think for 2 reasons. One, he didn't want people being reckless and dying for no reason. And 2, he just didn't seem it fit. So there's not a lot of Medal of Honors from the 29th. And the ones that did get it, got it after the war. Like, is it Francis Paraguay from Charlottesville? He definitely deserved it. It was D+1, I think. I can't remember what town it was to the west of St. Louis, or from the west of Omaha. The 743rd tanks couldn't push in, and the company, I think it was Charlie Company, got stopped. He went in like a bat out of hell by himself, took a whole MG nest, brought them back as prisoner, went back, took the rest of the trench, and then had the tanks come in. But I think he died just before St. Louis. But yeah, he got the Medal of Honor after the war because Gerhardt Gerhardt wouldn't put in people for the Medal of Honor. I think the most he would put him in for is a Medal of Valor, but he would not put anybody in for Medal of Honor.
That kind of shit sucks. It's like
Yeah.
I know. Yeah. By the way, Brian, if you're wanting to do more research on the 32nd Division, there's one copy left of this book that I own a copy of it as well. That I just posted a link to. I don't get anything out of it, so it's not like that. But like, if you're interested in the 32nd Division, like it's a pretty fucking cool division, just like the 29th. And the 29th was in World War One as well, right? But they didn't see a lot of combat, if I remember correctly.
That I don't know.
I'm asking Trey. Yeah.
What's that?
No, the 29th in World War One. They
As far
didn't
as
see a
what?
lot of combat, right?
A fair amount, but not a lot compared to everybody else. I'm not that savvy on the 29th in World War One, but
Okay.
I do know they did see
Nobody's
combat.
fucking savvy on World War One. Like, what the fuck?
I do know they were there and they did see combat.
Yeah,
but
yes, they
wasn't.
did.
I don't think they got a lot of streamers from it. But real quick, how many Medal of Honors do you think the 29th ID got during World War II?
During.
Just from the actions during World War II.
So we're talking posthumous, afterwards, all that shit. 7? 2? Jesus Christ.
Yep, one of them was Frank Perigord posthumously, Company K. They got 44 Distinguished Service Crosses, 1 Distinguished Service Medal, 854 Silver Stars, 17 Legions of Merit, 24 Soldiers Medals, 6,308 Bronze Star Medals, and 176 Air Medals.
Mm-hmm.
They were there from D-Day to the very end, and they were Provost Guard for like a few months after the war. And they only got 2. And they were in some of the thicket, like they weren't in the Battle of the Bulge, but they were holding the line north of the Battle of the Bulge. So I mean, yeah, and then I think Company G or F was at Aachen.
Mm-hmm.
They were detached to I think the 30th ID, I think, or 35th to help. Like one company was sent with them, like we need help, so they sent one company. Yeah, just stupid. But they also had the 29th Air Force. They had, I think, 4 Piper Cubs, and they were nicknamed the 29th Air Force because they used them for reconnaissance and artillery observation.
Yeah, you can see a number of them folded up on trucks, like
yeah,
piece and a half trucks coming off Omaha Beach.
Yep. And they had a lot of like chips, like cool things. Like they were the only unit that had the American crocodile tanks. That was in Germany. I can't remember the name of the fortress they attacked, but they did use it's at Brest. They used the British crocodiles, and they apparently the British loved them, and they loved the British. Like they were like, we're working together. This is great. But I can't remember the little fortress on the river in Germany, but they used the American crocodile tanks, and apparently that was the only time in the ETO that flamethrower Shermans were used.
Yeah.
At that one specific location. And they used, I can't remember, I think I brought up in one of the old podcasts a while back, near St. Lo, they used basically the American version of the Kartushka rockets on Deuce and a Halves. Except, no, well, not the tanks, but the trucks. Like instead of like,
so it was just the same mount, but like the fucking.
They were a little bit different. They were longer. They look almost identical to the Russian Kartusha. Okay. Instead of like it coming up like this on the truck, they would sit sideways so it wouldn't like they could. I don't know. There's a picture and videos of it on YouTube. I think I showed it a while back. Because that was when they had the artillery shortage. They're like, we can't use artillery anymore. We're limited on ammunition. So somebody was like, hey, we got these rocket trucks. I was like, fucking send it, brother. Let's bring it. And they were just rocketing the town.
Really quick too. I just looked up the 32nd in World War II, 11.
Oh wow!
See, the poor guys, man. They're just forgotten.
Yeah,
I know. That's the thing. Is like it's fucking. I mean, even the active army's forgotten. Like,
yeah, oh yeah, dude, yeah. Unless you're not in the shit like D-Day, like they get shined on D-Day, but after that they're just blown to the wind. No one knows about them. They don't know what they did.
It doesn't matter. It's like, oh, whatever.
Like I think the 101st Airborne gets way more publicity I don't know
Oh,
why
yeah.
the 82nd doesn't, because they were in way more conflicts. They
Well,
were there with it.
it's interesting you say that. I was talking to Paul Woodage about that, and he said that because he's been a reenactor since like the early 90s, and he said that in terms of like the Normandy festivals and things like that, before Saving Private Ryan and Band of Brothers, like the big airborne unit was the 82nd.
Yep.
That was like the one that everyone focused on when they focused on the airborne. But then after those two things, now everyone focuses on the 101st. So
Yep.
again, it's just like whatever those, whatever becomes popular in the mass media.
Yeah, I'll probably this weekend be going down to the D-Day Memorial in Bedford, and I probably won't do a display, but I might just show up with a few things and talk to
Nice.
people. I doubt any veterans will be there, but we're getting at that time of the decade.
6 days until the 81st anniversary, and then
Ba, 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 ba.
I know, right? Which, by the way, a week from today, I'm going to be on my way there. So
There you
that'll
go.
be fun.
Yeah, and so for those of you who are still watching, I do have in the description a link for Mike's GoFundMe to make his trip to Normandy as effective as possible.
Good
But he's
fun
also done all
shit.
this work already, and when he's actually physically there, it's going to be freaking awesome. So
Oh yeah, I bought a camera specifically for this. So
Yep.
for this trip.
Go ahead and check that out. Throw in $1 or $5 or whatever the hell you want to throw in, and then he'll be in Normandy in what is it, like 7 days?
Yeah, a week from today.
Yeah, a week from today.
Wow.
So
Oh, wow.
Wow.
But I
but
appreciate it. But yeah, I'm glad this video finally got up before that trip, because yeah, it was a long haul making this fucking video.
What was the holdback on it? The you said it was copyright. What was
This is the copyright stuff, and YouTube. Their 20th Century Fox had to review it and everything, and say, okay, fine, this is fair use. This is not copyright infringement.
right, yeah,
So yeah,
it just takes a while. Yeah,
so that was that, but thankfully it got cleared up, and yeah, because again, the editing and such. I mean, it is over an hour video, and that is a lot of work. But those animated maps take so goddamn long.
Yeah.
Yeah. So that
and
stuff
they
was-
still look like shit, which is the greatest part.
Oh, thank you. Yeah, it's just my blood.
Like that one dude said in the comments on the Instagram, he's like, "Well, in real life, the soldiers would have been way bigger," and he was joking too. Like,
exactly.
and I was just like,
What is this?
"Who are
A
you
battle-
working for?"
What is this? A
Like-
battlefield for ants?
Zoolander.
It needs to be 3 times bigger. No, he's right.
No, it's just fucking funny.
Zoolander.
Some people get like the humor and like the jokes and shit.
Other people that were just like, "Are you serious?" No, and yeah, completely don't get it at all.
Like, what the fuck, dude? Like,
The
just
beach is supposed to be 180 degrees.
this grain of sand is not accurate. Oh my god.
By the way, when I'm in Normandy, when I'm at Omaha Beach, no, I am not bringing any sand back. I am not collecting sand in a jar and bringing that back. I've had 5 different people send me Omaha Beach sand.
I've got dirt.
Yeah,
I've got a jar
I have-
of dirt.
I have 5 different jars up there that have sand from Omaha Beach in them. So
The dirt that came from the UK over the years,
Yeah,
and
from,
is now
down-
washing up on.
from downward drift from 81 years. Yeah. So
Yeah.
Well, it's got blood in it. It could have blood in it still.
no.
Oh my god! Like it could have a piece of a fucking helmet or a fucking vest or a rifle in it. Well,
After
did you
all-
get it's awesome and orgasmic? No.
All the storms and shit that's just, like you said, relocated like 80 miles.
Oh
up.
yeah, it's like
Yeah.
fucking okay. You're
Yeah.
getting the cliffs of Dover are coming down here. Like come on.
Yeah. That is
Like-
such a dumb like boomer thing, is to collect a jar of
Oh
sand.
god. I mean,
From the beach.
if you're there like during the time, like I tried to bring some sand home from Iraq.
Right.
All right. So
It
do
didn't
you
work.
think,
It
do
got
you
nailed in
think that came
customs.
from Save It Private Ryan?
I think that's where a lot of it does come from, is with Tom Sizemore with
Yeah.
the jars. Yeah.
Well, okay, maybe, but
Yeah.
like I wanted to do it anyway.
Right.
So maybe okay, there's probably 2 like houses of idiots like myself.
Yeah.
One that saw Saving Private Ryan and got it like implanted, and 2, I like souvenirs from places that I go.
That's different. Like you're there, you fought there. Like it's just, I'm bringing this home just so I can like sniff it and be like, It's
yeah,
great.
but was it because of Saving Private Ryan subconsciously?
Maybe. I mean,
think
but
that-
even before then, you had that one veteran who had his friend ship him a bag of dirt so he could plant grass from home there. Like, it's always been there. It's all people have always done stuff like that.
I think in terms of tourists, yes, the influence is very Saving Private Ryan heavy. Just for tourism, that is, for like people, visiting there.
Right. It's like, I mean, I've been to like, okay, so I've been to like Rev War battlefields in like South Carolina and North Carolina and shit like that, right? I go there and I go, I wasn't here, but I respect it. And I'm kind of looking around going, I know it looks a lot different today than it did, 200-300 years ago. Interesting. But it's not a place that I participated in. So I'm not going to take dirt from it or whatever, like that weird thing. Like, people kind of do that. However, I tried to bring some dirt back from Iraq and it got caught in customs and they just threw it in the garbage. And I was like, fuck. There was enough shit. I should have just shaken off all the shit they sent home and like
thinking that
gotten a vial of it, like, because God,
open up your hard drive, like, there it is, yeah.
Well, dude, my computer was completely fucked. Like, I came back on leave and like I was like, my computer is not working, and I took it to Geek Squad and I'm like, I only have like a week and I have to go back. Can you please take care of this? And they're like, when I went to pick it up, they're like, I have never seen a more filthy fucking like motherboard and like where did you take this thing? And I was like, Iraq. And they're like, well, put a cover on it or something like that, like one of those like those fucking mesh things that you could put on the. I was like,
it ain't gonna work. That ain't gonna fucking work.
I'm like, it ain't gonna. It's dust. It's like powder. Fuck it. And I'm like,
I
okay.
Some of the guys I was in with when they went the first time to Iraq, they were like, dude, we went through like 5 Xboxes.
Oh,
it would just die. We'd order another one.
The dust, dude. When I got back, like I was popping shit out of my ears because I couldn't hear anything from tinnitus, and I'd be like, God, there's something in my ear. And I just go like this and kind of hit my head. And yeah, exactly. Fucking, there'd be blood in them. It was like dried blood and dust and everything, and I'm like, shit, like, ick. And then one of my friends, he's dead now, but like he was a Vietnam vet, and I popped one out, and I was working for him, and I would pop one out in the store. I'm like, God damn it, like what the fuck? And I pull it out, it was like that long, and it was just blood and dust. And he goes, "Oh my God, God, that's just God, throw that in the fucking garbage." He had like the old school voice like that.
Yeah.
He's like, go throw that away. That's disgusting.
Just pull a Shrek, just slap it on the table and light it.
Oh man, I could have. Man, it was fucking that long, but like it was so fucking bad. Like the ear potatoes. But the fact that it was like blood was like fuck, because the sand would like irritate your ear canal and like it would just from there on, and then plus you get concussions and shit like that. Anyway, so that was fun, but like no, our devices, oh my God,
nasty,
Christ.
Dirty.
Well, again, glad I never went.
No, me too. I'm glad you never went. I'm glad both of you never went.
I gotta hit the road though, but this has been a lot of fun.
Oh, you're gonna hit the road?
I gotta hit the road.
Hit it so hard, you dirty.
Yeah.
Gonna hit the road. My hit it so hard, so fucking hard. Yeah, yeah.
It's a good way to bring this whole thing to an end.
Oh, it's not ending yet. Your part is ending.
My part is ending, but you guys do your thing.
I think Trey's gonna work later, so
yeah, I do. Yeah.
All right. But thank you so much.
Yeah, man.
Yep. Appreciate it, man.
Video.
You did great work.
Later.
Great work.
Yep. Talk to y'all later.
All right,
buddy. Yeah, just what the fuck? This dog is driving me nuts today. The weasel horse. Driving me fucking crazy. But what time? How much time you have to pop off?
I'll probably go another hour, maybe.
Cool. Yeah. So no, I mean I liked his video a lot, and he's really good at I mean, if you want to know anything about fucking Omaha Beach, like that's your guy.
Yeah.
And I don't think there's anybody. I mean, I actually kind of want somebody to challenge him. like, an older historian or just a historian that, like, is gone balls deep.
Yeah, like
into
Ambrose's sons.
Yeah.
No,
But-
so it's kind of a double-edged sword. Like, they brought good shit to light. I just wish they would have done a little bit more better research,
Thorough
like,
research, like not
yeah.
just not.
Don't
just
don't get me wrong. Like the Saving Private Ryan's, the Longest Day, Band of Brothers, all they got a lot of people interested in the hobby, in the genre of World War II.
Yeah, but then it kind of backfired because it's like now everyone's into it, and Cody.
It's like Saving Private. Like, don't get me wrong, I love Saving Private Ryan, but there are a lot of inaccuracies. But like it really shows the depth of how bad it was to a certain extent. But then again, you had this stigma of everybody's like, oh, look at those giant concrete bunkers on the hillside. Like,
and everybody died immediately before they got off the boat. It's like, no, people were getting hit. I think from what I understand, and Mike and I have talked about this, is a lot of the casualties on Omaha and Utah, well, less so in Utah, but like in Sword, Juneau, and Gold, were from mortars and artillery fire. It's like,
so the 29th. So one thing I try to allude to people when I do my displays and education programs and reenacting is, if you watch Saving Private Ryan, that's like wave 2 or 3. That's not the first wave. Like if you think about it, the 29th is already on the beach. They're already dead. They're on the seawall. They've been there for about an hour. So the 29th, from my understanding and research, they came off the boats. They got onto the seawall, or not to the seawall, but they got off the boats, and then they were opened up on. It wasn't like, here comes, like, they're shooting at the boats.
Well, yeah, because the Germans still had to sit there and load fucking magazines and belts and like.
Well, they weren't given command. It's kind of like when anywhere else in history, like, you don't just, oh, there's somebody, bam, you just start shooting. You're like, wait till you're given command to fire. This is coordinated. This isn't a free for all. Like, we have a chain of command. We have training and tactics. So they waited for them to get off the boats, because you got to look at it in their perspective too. If we start opening up on them right now, they might just turn tail and run. Like, they're going to retreat. They're going to bombard the shit out of us. If they get close enough, they can't use their own artillery support against us. So you get them inland a little bit, not too close, because you don't want to give them
right. But it was like kind of tactical thinking of like,
yes. So it's like, once the ramps drop, let them get off a little bit, and then open up, and then give them everything.
That's what the Japanese did a lot in the South Pacific, is they're like,
exactly.
Let them all get on the beach and let's get a quagmire started.
Yes, it is a amphibious tactic.
Mm-hmm.
It wasn't like this free for all, like the fucking German on the horse. I will shoot all these ships. No, it was coordinated to a certain extent.
Yeah, he'd probably just like Mike said, like, what really happened in this guy's account, this French guy's account, he got off the fucking cart and just ran back because he's like, oh fuck, like, I'm not going to do anything with my rifle, or even if he had an MP40 or whatever the fuck he had, like, it's like, I'm not going to do shit against, like, this is it, like, I need to get the fuck back. I need to alert as many people as possible.
Yep.
And like, I need to get the fuck as far back, because this is not good.
Yeah. Find somebody with more rank and find a deep ditch.
Right. Yeah, because he was portrayed as an E5, and it's like, or like a, un offizier.
Yeah.
But like, it's like, dude, like, even the guys who did identify, and that's the thing that I like Mike talking about too, is like, that one dude claims to have identified them. He's the first German to identify.
There's no way to know.
There's no fucking way at all to verify that.
Yeah.
There's no fucking way.
I agree with him where he's like, you may believe that, and it's you're an officer and you're like, you're getting a chip on your shoulder, like, oh, I did this, I did that, but there's no way to fucking know.
No,
like,
here's the thing: is I bet you at about
it might have been some fucking shoots that was on the fucking holding guard. He might have saw him first.
Yeah, he's probably sitting there going,
yeah,
and he's
just
probably
playing,
heard something or smelled something and was like,
literally pissing into the wind, like, oh shit, let me go tell somebody.
And then
that's more likely would have happened. He was over there on the shore wall, just pissing down to the, because he's relieving himself. He's like,
yeah, exactly, just
shit.
Like, oh, well, maybe I should get some binoculars. Maybe I'm just seeing things come.
Let me go tell somebody that has more structure than I do to tell
Hey,
them.
I think I see something out there. Yeah, you say that every night.
Because we don't have
No,
the
I don't
electric.
actually.
We don't have the electric alarm. Let me
Oh,
go
God.
tell somebody. Yeah.
Dude, no, from what I understand, like with Mike, his videos and what he said like in our private and public conversations, like the Germans were they were like, oh shit, like we're
Yeah.
not prepared for this at all. Like,
Yeah.
holy fuck, like we can't do this.
And to go back to that, like a majority of the Germans at Normandy weren't German. They were Polish. They were Russian. They were
Ukrainian. Yep.
They were R&R Germans that were on R&R for
Mhm.
wounds in the Eastern Front. And also going back to the myths, like everybody, like, oh yeah, the Germans had those MG-42s up there. Like maybe
They had a couple.
They might have a few. But yeah, the majority of them, the ZB30s or whatever, the
26,
ZB26, 28s, the MG34s.
They had a lot of. They had like a Rebel or Ribels, the French, the ones with the magazine on the side. They had a shitload of those, and then they had the Polish.
And I'm glad Mike is like depicting those in his paintings and
because it was a lot of capture shit. Because here's the thing: is contrary to popular belief, that wasn't an area that they thought was going to get hit.
No, they thought it was
like
a sheer.
Mike and I were talking about really quick. Mike and I were talking about this at the beginning of the stream. It was Pas de Calais because that's the shortest distance between
that's it.
the UK and France at that point. Or it's still, but like that's the shortest. That would make the most sense because it's the quickest.
Yep.
You can get the element of surprise. So they reinforced Pas de Calais. They did not expect Normandy, and they were just like, well, whatever. We'll throw a couple units there, and
it wasn't feasible. There was you couldn't put a harbor there. You couldn't get off it was a sea wall. You couldn't. It was more of like there's no way they could do that here. And like surprise, like you hit your enemy where you think they won't hit you. Like
Well, there you go. And then that's the thing with Normandy is like they showed up, and the Germans just did not. They were not prepared.
Yeah.
I mean, they inflicted a shitload of casualties, but again, like we were just talking about, most of that was not direct fire; it was indirect fire.
Yes,
because like
mines, artillery, indirect artillery, mortars,
drownings because the gear sucked.
Yep.
Oh my god, it's like what the fuck? But like, no, a lot of it was just.
It was dumb luck.
Mike and I were talking like right before you got on. Is like a lot of the Germans just fucking ran back. They're like, oh shit, we don't have the. Because there was probably about on Omaha a couple hundred Germans, and there was like fucking the first wave was like almost 1,000 Americans. And you're like,
I don't care what Mike B says or Mike A says. My Way is the best D-Day film ever. You ever seen it?
Yep.
It is. Oh my god.
They're focusing on the 2 Koreans that were purported to have been there.
But it's so fucking like if you go there today, you'd be like, this looks nothing like the film. Would be like, no, like they make it look like some ungodly impenetrable fortress. Like the bunkers have like foxholes all the way up or even the Saving Private Ryan, they only had the one deck. Like
right, and Mike A has done a great job at that of like showing like what a Tobruk is,
God, we need to shit on that one evening. Like just play just the D-Day portion and just shit on it. Like there's like 500 AA guns in trenches to the left and right of the pillboxes and shit. And
they made it look like it was, but it really like Mike A
the fucking Rangers are like catapulting the spikes on top of the bunker itself and climbing up the bunker. Like it's. I don't think.
Bad.
I mean, comparatively, I would believe a shit ton more of Dragon Man stuff compared to that film.
Yeah, that film, like, it's basically kind of like what the fuck was that one?
It's real life anime, bro.
Dude, it was that one Vietnam film we watched right before Scuttlebutt came to an end. God, what the fuck was it called? That one German director.
Vietnam, made in Germany, or German film, Vietnam.
It was just I mean, it was terrible, and I can't remember it, but it's like,
yeah, I don't remember that one.
It's the same concept. I forgot what the fuck it was. Damn, that's gonna bother me now. But like, No, it was by
I'll
what's
look
his
it up.
name? I think Herzog. Oh, UV Bull. Yes, Brian. What the hell was the name of that fucking movie? It was called like
Mine
no,
Vietnam.
he's got the director, that guy. Because we shat on that.
Ein Summer in Vietnam. Mine Vietnam.
I fucking I mean he's a kraut, you know. He's an arrogant kraut too. Tunnel Rats. Yeah, that's what it was. Tunnel Rats. Dude.
Okay.
Dude, that movie was like probably it's so I was gonna say is like with My Way, it's like you get a fucking 9-year-old or a 12-year-old with a shitload of money, and they're directing an entire film. And they don't know a goddamn thing about anything they're fucking doing. They just want it to look cool.
To be fair, there's no real good video games on Vietnam, so
Bullshit, Viet Cong. Bullshit.
no, wrong.
Wrong?
I mean, you'd Call of Duty, but
No.
that was SF or
No.
CIA.
No. Viet Cong and Viet Cong Fist Alpha.
That wasn't.
You've
like
never
a
played
five,
them?
That was like a 5. It wasn't a 5-star game like Call of Duty or something. That's what I'm trying to say. Like it's a very
No, but it was
niche.
better. It was better than them.
Yeah, but
it
it's
never
not.
got ratings because it was a private fucking.
That's what I'm saying. Like if you had like Call of Duty or Brothers in Arms or what was the other one? Battlefield. Like where
Well,
they
you
had
had freaking what
we had like
called?
a campaign.
Laos, Mason. You were headed towards Laos.
What do the numbers mean? What do the numbers mean?
What do the numbers mean?
Black Ops.
Call of Duty Black Ops.
Yeah, Black Ops.
Yeah.
Cut to what's his name from Don't Be a Miss South Central. I hate my guns because they black.
Shit.
I hate that black ass Wesley Snipes.
Dude, fucking Tunnel Rats was probably the worst movie, the worst quote unquote war movie I've ever fucking seen that actually like had a budget and like was serious. I'm like, what in the whole chicken fried fuck are you doing here? Like,
so kind of off topic. What is your favorite Vietnam film?
I don't think. Okay, here I'm gonna disclose this. I don't think any war film has gotten it. Besides like documentaries, I'm saying a film.
Yeah.
I don't think any film can convey what it's like to be in a particular conflict of any time period, right?
If I had to choose real quick, I'd say Platoon.
Yes. So Platoon.
It's got its faults, but
yeah, Oliver Stone was actually in Vietnam.
Yeah,
we know that, and it's like I get that, and Hamburger Hill would be a second.
Yeah,
just based on like the interaction between the troops, I guess.
Yeah,
and
the news.
Yeah. Full Metal Jacket was complete and utter bullshit from what I hear from veterans, and I agree too. It's just all Hollywood.
Yeah,
but I would say Platoon. I wasn't in Vietnam, of course.
What?
And I look like I could have been, but like, but from what veterans say, they say that it's like it's got its flaws, but it's fairly consistent. And I know somebody personally who was in that last battle of Platoon, like in Sui Cut, and he said, it can never convey that. I understand that. I get that.
Yeah.
But Platoon, and then I would say Hamburger Hill is probably second for Vietnam. For Iraq and Afghanistan, unless it's a documentary, they were so incredibly fucked up.
Well, what do you think about Generation Kill?
Okay,
I mean
but that's a series. That's not. That's okay. I'm being very pedantic right here, right?
Yeah.
I'm saying documentary, film, and then you did bring up series.
Yeah.
So series, Generation Kill. I watched that while I was in Iraq.
Okay.
It was a different mission they had, a different kind of culture. They were Marines or recon Marines.
Recon, yeah.
They were invading a country. I was occupying a country.
Yeah.
However, I would say that for Iraq, specifically, I would not cease to recommend that to somebody to watch. I've had my wife watch it with me, and she was even like, okay, this is not bad. Like, it's just like to the point. This is what the fuck, a lot of those guys went through, and they had advisors who were actually in that unit
Well,
on the cast. The guy with the radar screening on his head or on his helmet.
He played himself.
Yeah, he played himself, and he advised them as well. And they had a couple other guys advising that just didn't want to be in it.
I did watch like the making of or whatever, and apparently one guy interviewed to be himself, and they're like, "Nah, you don't make the cut." He's like, "What the fuck?"
Well, then you don't get it. That's the thing.
I think it was more of like you in X Factor, you can't act. Like you can be yourself.
No, that's the thing too. Okay, so I will give people that, like,
yeah.
People try to put so much into acting, and so what I learned from Reveille, from the actors that are pretty damn good, and they've gone through, a lot of them have gone through film school and all that shit, and they've gone through a lot of acting schools.
Yeah,
whether it's official or just like they just go for a few weeks.
Yeah.
They say be yourself, and then attribute some of that character of how you would act that character. You read the script, you understand it, but be yourself. And like I think what the hell Gene Wilder said, he was talking in an interview about
that was a great quote from him.
Right. He's like if I'm playing Hamlet, I'm playing Gene Hamlet.
Yeah.
I'm not playing Hamlet and I'm not playing Gene.
Yeah.
I'm combining the two. And that's where the chemistry, like, that I found. I'm not an actor at all. I've never acted in shit besides like high school plays and all that shit. But like, that's kind of what I believe in, what I've seen with having made that film, is like when people can combine those two perfectly, it's awesome. And they do a good job, and it's like they bring a part of their personality to this character. It doesn't have to be 100% accurate to what the character was, because that's in the past.
Yeah.
But we give them the material that we have on the character, and they apply their own personality to it, and it's really good. It really is. So
yeah.
But Generation Kill, I believe, is actually pretty good. I also watched The Hurt Locker when I was there, and I got fucking pissed off. I'm like, this is so fucking retarded. Like, this is so fucking not what actually happens and what goes on.
Yeah.
Like, it was so bad. And yeah, I mean, I don't think besides Generation Kill, but that's also 2003, right?
Yeah.
I don't think besides Generation Kill, there's an actual, like, accurate movie about GWAT, like for Iraq and Afghanistan, rather.
Yeah.
So, because they're all just like bullshit fucking Hollywood, everybody looks like they're eating a fucking, we had fucking uniform standards even in Iraq. Okay. Everybody did. And these guys just look like you can tell they're wearing fake fucking, plastic helmets, which is fine, but like wear them correctly.
Yeah.
Wear them how we actually fucking wore them. Wear our uniforms.
That's the one thing, like,
yeah.
If you have them in the way back, I get it, but you could definitely tell, like, close up, like the dude's brushing shoulders with. He's wearing like a PSA GT, and I was like, that was phased out a long time ago.
Well, even if he is, okay, like, wear it correctly. Like, you know what I mean? Like, people don't know how to wear a uniform correctly. You can tell a poser.
Oh, dude, I can't tell you how many like crappy films, even the big budget films, like they've got the collar velcroed shut, and I'm like, no, like you're not in a Seaburn environment. Unbuckle that shit.
I also never did that with a vest on because it was more uncomfortable.
Yeah.
It's like, no fucking way, man. No. And here's the thing too, is like, I didn't look like a bag of dicks when I was wearing my uniform.
Yeah.
I probably looked like a fucking garbage bag full of Vaseline because I always had a gut, but like, whatever. Besides that, no. There's a way to wear a uniform and wear it properly. And whether
it's
you're
just
out
like,
in the field.
it's just like reenacting. If you put in the minor details, people notice.
Oh yeah, absolutely. And I
Like
fucking hate
if you buy a fucking M42 tunic from at the front and just show up to an event, people are going to notice. Like, give it some love or dislove. Like, make it look like you've worn it in the field, and scuff shit up. Make it look like you know how to wear it. Make it look like it's been worn.
That's
People
the thing.
notice.
That's the thing.
Yeah.
Exactly. Is they just people. I don't know how to explain it, and you're kind of getting at that point of like, when I see somebody who's never been in, I don't care if you've never been in the military. I really don't. Okay. If you are wearing a uniform, the advisors need to tell you how to wear that fucking uniform properly.
And take it.
And they should also, the advisors should be veterans.
Be a
I don't care if you're a
sponge.
combat veteran or a, whatever.
Yeah.
But they should know how to wear a fucking uniform because, dude, even in a combat zone, you will get checked for that shit.
Yep.
And it's like you need to constantly, there's a reason you wear a uniform a certain way.
Yep.
And I've noticed a lot of movies about GWAT that are just absolutely fucking atrocious when it comes to, they just wear it like it's clothes. It's like, well, no, it's a functional piece of your equipment,
And I mean, I'm not saying you have to pick up a TM or FM and be like,
no,
you have to wear this. Like, I'll be honest with you, when it got hot outside, and I know we weren't supposed to do it, but I'm that guy. I would take my cuffs and roll them in.
That's what I did too. Yeah, I got
so it would breathe
for it. I got bitched
like,
at.
Oh no, you got to Velcro it shut. I'm like,
yep.
One, it agitates my skin when it's tight like that, and two, it's fucking hot. Let the air flow. Like, dude, it doesn't look that bad.
Dude, exactly. I did that. I got bitched at. Like, I didn't even have a number of how many times I got bitched at for doing that.
Like, they come up to you like, hey, hero.
Hey, warrior, why are your fucking cuffs not shut?
Yeah, Velcro them cuffs shut. Oh,
well, I don't know because I'm fucking hot.
Yeah. Like, oh yeah, Roger, sorry, and I'll fix that. And as soon as they walk in, I'm like, put that bitch back. Fuck that. It's hot as shit.
Well, there was a couple times where
long sleeve.
We were out in the field and shit. And like I would roll my ACUs up to like here, like to the pocket,
Yeah, and apparently now that's a thing. We can,
And I would do that, and then one time we were doing a raid on some like town or some shit, and then the fucking I was like quote unquote this isn't training. I should specify this isn't training. And so we go up and we're going to this town, and our fucking squad leader or team leader was a fucking idiot and just had us sitting there. So then all of a sudden they're like, the OC goes, "You're the casualty," points at me, and I'm like, shit. Uh-oh. So, I'm the biggest guy in the squad.
Exactly.
And so it's like, God damn it. And so I'm laying down with all my shit on, and I'm just like, fuck. And then our first sergeant walks up, who I've told you about. He's a pile of shit. I'll say it to his fucking face. I don't give a shit. That guy's a pile of shit. Still is, probably. And he goes, "Why are your sleeves rolled up?" I said, "Because I'm fucking hot. I'm wearing 120 pounds of shit. And apparently I'm the casualty." And we
and I'm sure he's not in battle rattle. He's just out there with the PC on and shit.
No, he's got a helmet on and a vest, a slick vest. So he's got his IBA at that time. His IBAs.
That's shocking.
So he's got a slick vest on. He's got his little pistol on there though, which is fun.
Hell yeah!
And he comes yelling at me, and I'm just like, I don't know. I just rolled them down. I just went, I don't know what the fuck you want me to do. Like, just fucking. And so I cuffed him up. I said,
goes back to my heart.
Yeah, well, exactly. It's just like, you're going to worry about that shit. Like, you're not going to worry about the guy that you put in charge as an E5 who just fucked us. And there's a reason I'm the casualty. And we haven't even entered the fucking town yet. But you appointed him, who was a cook and not even 11 Bravo. But it's my fault because I rolled my fucking sleeves up on a really hot day in fucking the end of June as I'm wearing 120 pounds of shit going into Clear Village.
I think I told you we did a shoot house one time. So you do the crawl phase, nothing. Then you do blanks, and then you go live, real ammo. One of our E5s, they would not let him go in. They're like, he went in, did the dry phase, like, hey, that's not satisfactory. You can't do this. Try it with blanks. And after they did the blank front, he's like, no. They pulled him out. They were like, you're not going in live. Yeah, he's a good dude. He's more of a bookie. Like, he went to college. Yeah.
Our first sergeant drove a fucking forklift for a living. So he was kind of unhappy. You there?
Yeah, I'm here.
Okay. He was kind of unhappy with his life and his existence, and he took it out on everyone else.
Gotcha.
Myself included.
Yeah, I was looking at Mike's comment in the Discord.
Oh yeah, I mean, you can't mess it up.
No, yeah.
Yeah, so you have sand from 1968, and I'm sure it's the same exact sand that's got all the blood and the, steel and the rust and all that shit, the fragments in it.
I mean, I've got one, but somebody gave it to me. I was like, oh, I'm not gonna throw it away, or I'll keep it because somebody gave it to me as a gift.
No, it's cool. It's like, I do like souvenirs.
Yeah.
And it's like, it's not a big deal, but like, goddamn, like, people are like, this is the real deal. Omaha Beach sand. It was there on D-Day.
I picked up this Zyklon D-can from Omaha.
You see this, man? Oh, it's already been used. Yeah. We watched that movie the other night on Discord, and
it was like, how many things killed? See, why are you showing me this?
And he just fucking pops in.
Yeah.
It's like, but no, Falling Down is a great film. Like, Nate was like, he's like, that's really dark, and I was like, yeah, it is. But it's also
if you cut out the first 10 minutes, it's a whole lot better because the acting at the very beginning is atrocious from everybody. Even
that's most movies though. Like,
yeah. Like the cop, the other cop, the tile salesman, like that was horrible.
Oh yeah, it's awful, man. And all of a sudden, Michael Douglas just kind of gets into it.
Yeah.
Oh well, I'm about to lose my fucking shit. This is going to be excellent. But we were thinking about doing also, God damn it, because Michael has never seen Burn After Reading.
Yeah. Yep.
So I wonder when the hell we can do that. Let me ask him really quick.
I'm off Monday and Tuesday, so.
Shit, we might. All right, so hold on.
Ba, 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 ba.
Ugh. Yeah, Burn After Reading is fucking amazing. Like, it's one of those films where you're just like, you're done watching it and you just go, huh.
Yeah.
Huh. Like,
next to you, we all have a drinking problem.
I have a drinking problem? Fuck you, Peck. You're a Mormon. Next to you, we all have a drinking problem.
Did you ever see
what the fuck is going on? Whose ass didn't I kiss?
Did you ever see the SNL skit with Bill Hader as an Italian interviewer interviewing him?
Interviewing John Malkovich?
It's hilarious. He's like, I could do John Malkovich. He's like, what? He goes, yes, I am John Malkovich. He's like, I sound nothing like. He's like, no, you will sound exactly like this. It's hilarious, dude. It's an SNL skit where he Bill Hader is an Italian.
Yeah.
And he's like, I could play John Malkovich. He's like, what? He goes, hi.
This is a crucifixion.
Because like every film, he's John Malkovich, as though he's not like Johnny Depp or Bill Hader. He is
right.
He's John Malkovich playing somebody in the movie.
I just love his here's the thing is my squad leader when I was overseas, reminds me so much of him, like the bald head, and his teeth, and like his mannerisms and shit. And I was just like, oh fuck. And like the square teeth that are like always
Yeah.
showing.
Yeah.
And I'm just like, what the fuck? And then no, Burn After Reading was amazing. I'm bigger, I'm back. I'm better than ever. I'm better, I'm back. You fuckers, I'm back. Just one of the best, like, stupid things. And then at the end, it's just like, you're one of them that I've been hunting my whole fucking life.
Yeah, we need to rewatch that with Mike.
Well, that's the thing is like I just texted Mike A and I'm like, dude, Burn After Reading's fucking awesome.
He's probably outside still hitting the pavement, or punching it.
Punching, just fucking with his dick, just like slamming it in there, breaking it, you know, like
learn it today.
Got a fracture, you're gonna go into the fucking doctor's office, the hospital, like, oh, I know something's wrong with my pecker. Oh god.
Where'd you get road rash from? Well,
oh, the road was really attractive to me today. Oh.
Brian, which Coen Brothers film are you referring to?
I mean, The Big Lebowski was pretty fucking good.
Hey, dude. Oh, dude, that fucking meme. 9 countries, bro. Or dude, what was it?
109.
No, yeah, 109 countries, dude.
Yeah.
That meme's so fucked up.
Dude, I think we've talked about this before, but like my friends back in the day, and some of them still today, call me Walter. Because I'll sit there and just be talking.
Did you see the interview?
Forget about the fucking toe!
Did you ever see the interview with him where he's like addressing the fan theory that Steve Buscemi's character is fiction, or not fictional? He's a figment of the dude's imagination. Like he's not there.
No.
Let me see if I can find it real quick, because it's pretty interesting, because it's a fan theory, and then like 10 years ago, he talks about it.
So it's the dude's imagination, or it's Walter's?
Hold on. So Jeff Bridges basically is in an interview, and it might be his theory, or he's addressing a fan theory. Because if you think about it, when he talks about it, you're like, he says something like he's the only one that sees them. Oh, where the fuck is it at?
Yeah, but then how would Walter render 8 at the end? I don't buy that shit for a second.
Here, let me. It's been a while since I've seen it, so.
And also, we're like, what the fuck? Like, the coffee can.
This. He's a figment of Walter's imagination. And you guys heard about this? No? This man knows that you have heard about it. And I the last few times I've seen the movie, I've run that theme, and it kind of works, man. Because the dude...
All right, pause it. So we could copyright shit. So it's a figment of Walter's imagination.
Walter,
I thought you said
yeah.
the dudes.
Like I said, it's been a while since I've seen it, so it makes sense. Because
yeah, I mean that would
Jeff Bridges. It's just like sometimes you just sit there like, "Fuck, man!" Like what? But yeah, it's always Walter. Like, shut the fuck up, Donnie.
I mean, yeah, I mean, but like
like,
fucking the dude engages him though. Like when he's like, "Your phone's ringing, dude." Thanks, Donnie.
I mean, the dude stays stoned, so.
Well, that's true.
Yeah. So I mean, it's a theory, and it kind of works out.
It could be like, yeah, it was just him and the dude hanging, and then like freaking Donnie's like rolling fucking hot, you know? And woo! Jesus, shut the fuck up, Donnie.
So I mean, you know, Walter just throwing a random can of ashes in the air, and the dude's just like, "Fuck, man,
The fuck is going on?"
yeah." So, I
What are
mean,
we?
it's just a theory, but it's fun, you know.
That would be. I mean, it kind of makes sense. We'd all have to watch that movie again. And
Yeah,
then
just
kinda-
with that as a pretext, like, okay,
Yeah, exactly. Like we'd
All right,
have to
just
all
go-
watch it and
go into
assess.
this thinking that Donnie is
Yeah.
just a figment of Walter's imagination. Like, okay, see how this plays out.
Jesus, shut the fuck up, Donnie.
Just
Like
yeah, whatever.
I love my favorite shut the fuck up was when he's sitting there going, "That's the man in the black pajamas, or the fucking adversary." Who's in the pajamas, Walter? Shut the fuck up, Donnie. He's like in
No.
the fucking zone, like smoking a cigarette.
My favorite, he's like, "Shut the fuck up, Donnie. Who's goes it next?" He just like suddenly goes on to the next. Who's balling next?
Oh yeah. When are we rolling? Saturday? Well, they're gonna have to unschedule it. I'm Shomer Shabbos, Donnie. What does that mean? Shomer Shabbos is the Sabbath. I don't roll. I don't light a fucking stove. I don't do this. I don't talk on the phone. And I sure as shit don't fucking roll. Shomer Shabbos. Yeah, but Walter, Shomer fucking Shabbos. Oh, for fuck's sake. Wait a minute, dude. They're gonna kill that poor woman. Dude. Fucking yeah, I love that movie. As you know. But like any hoozle.
Oh,
I think
True
we should
Grit was
wrap
another
this
good
bitch
one.
up. I think we should wrap this bitch up.
Yeah, buddy.
Been rolling for about 3 hours now. Fucking Christ. All right, thanks everyone for watching. What should the keyword be if you're watching this expose facto?
The invasion.
Is the invasion.
I'm surprised we didn't play that meme.
Oh my god.
Where he turns around, it's like, "It's the invasion," and then it's like the party flares. Is like, "Surprise, motherfucker!"
Surprise, motherfucker. So yeah, it's the invasion. That's the keyword if you're watching this expose facto.
John
shall
has a
talk
long
at you.
mustache.
Yeah. God. Yeah. Fucking forgot about that. He's probably got a gay mustache, but whatever. We'll talk to you guys later. Thanks for watching, everybody, and we'll see you next time.